Morning, Bills Mafia. How we doing this morning? My first question to you guys right out of the bat. My name is Steve Mathis. You know me as host of the Bills Guys on Buffalo Fanatics Monday and Thursday. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis. Welcome to the BF Tailgate. My first question, coffee or alcohol in this mug, and what are you guys rolling with this morning? We got 100 plus people on Facebook right now. We got 50 plus people on YouTube right now. This is absolutely incredible. I'm going to be rolling with you for the next half hour. Leading you into Casey and Knapp, who will talk fantasy and betting for an hour, and then myself and Dave will be back at 11 o'clock. But seriously, first question, you think this is water in here? You think this is coffee in here? You think this is alcohol in here? What are we rolling with this morning? Someone says coffee. I actually got myself the caffeine water this morning. I don't know if you guys have tried that caffeine water yet. It's pretty good. So someone said I thought I was in Miami tailgating. I wish I was in Miami. I live in one of those hot spots, Arizona, so traveling is pretty tough for me. Every time I try to book a flight somewhere, it's a 2 week wait before I can book a flight back. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Bills Dolphins. Obviously, the big news that we're going to want to talk about this morning is the injuries to Tremaine Edmunds and Matt Milano. We're going to want to get score predictions. I got a half hour, so we're going to roll through some things really quick. And I saw a lot of the expectations this morning. And I'm with a lot of people in the comment section. Matt Milano out. Why? I like that. Matt Milano out. Tremaine Edmunds out. This defense is missing something in the middle of this defense that we've had. These two playmakers in the middle level of our defense. These guys that sort of a lot of times make the plays for our defense in Tremaine Edmunds and Matt Milano. So what we need today, Bills Mafia, and I'm with a lot of you people in the comment section, this is the time. Today is the day. It's time for the offense to take control and the offense to win us a football game. It's time for the offense to win us a football game. That's, I think, the natural next progression in everything we're talking about. I'm willing to chalk up the fact last week that we didn't sort of put the Jets away. We didn't slaughter the Jets. Whatever phrase you want to use. It was closer on the scoreboard than maybe you would have wanted, even though the game was in control the whole way. I'm willing to use the excuse of execution last week. It was the first game back, no preseason. We were clearly going for the jugular. We just failed to execute in the second half, and there was a couple of fumbles. No excuses anymore. No excuses. Even if you want to say, well, it's just 2 weeks now. No, with Tremaine Edmunds out and Matt Milano out, the excuses are gone. This offense needs to come out, and they need to do exactly what they did last week. They need to be aggressive. They need to score points. Tyler Bass could be big in this game. When we get in the red zone and we can't punch it in, Tyler Bass, make your field goals. All the points matter today. And I'm not saying our defense can't be good. I'm not saying our defense can't be good without Tremaine Edmunds and Matt Milano. But I don't want them to have to be elite today. I don't want our defense to have to be elite today. I want our offense to come out, do exactly what they did last week, put up 30-plus points, never leave it in doubt. Never leave any doubt in our minds. I want them to have pushing 20 points by halftime. Like, I want to see 2 touchdowns and a field goal at least in the first half. 17 points. Don't make silly mistakes, says Dr. Meme. I agree. Don't make silly mistakes. Be aggressive. Josh Allen. Like, this is your time to step up. So we talk about the natural progression for Josh Allen, right? We got the 300-yard game last week. That 300-yard game was against a Swiss cheese secondary. And I'm not saying it's not a great stat to have. Like, yes, we finally got the 300-yard game. Hey, we know that Josh Allen can beat up on crappy defenses now. All right, Josh, you can beat up on crappy defenses now. So now what you got to do, Josh Allen, this week, is you need to go out against the defense that plays man-to-man aggressive. Man-to-man aggressive. And we're going to go through the injuries in the second. Sergio. You got to be super aggressive against a man-to-man defense. It's going to be pressing you. So you got to make those tight window throws. You got to lead receivers. Josh Allen needs to step up and do it today. And he's going to have to run the ball probably, which a lot of you guys aren't going to like. But he's probably going to have to run the football today. We're going to have to get that running game established. A couple people in now made that comment, establish the run. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to a ton of 11 personnel and 12 personnel. I'm not saying that spread offense that we showed last week, that veer and shoot offense, that kind of like the Syracuse Orange run with Dino Babers, that they had a lot of veer and shoot concepts last week. I wouldn't be surprised if they utilized a lot of that this week, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the running game is stagnant again early. They head back to 2 tight ends, bring Tyler Kroft on the field. Wouldn't be surprised if Lee Smith is active this week. Wouldn't be surprised if they ran a lot of 11 personnel, so Dawson Knox had his hand in the ground in line. Just the little things you can maybe do to sort of get the running game established a little bit in a little bit more traditional way. Last week, we significantly changed the offense. And if that's going to be our permanent offense from here on out, it's going to take the offensive line some time to adjust and establish to blocking the run, because it's a completely different scheme than we ran last year. Last year, we ran 12 personnel, 11 personnel. We put a fullback out there. It was a completely different style of run. Last week, we tried to spread them out to run the football. That's different than putting a bunch of bodies in line, putting hats on hats, and trying to overpower teams. It's different. So maybe it just takes the offensive line a little bit of time to adjust. It's going to be really interesting to see. The two running backs, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, both Miami kids. Devin Singletary played at FAU. Zach Moss was a recruit to the University of Miami. Cousin of Santana and Sonoris Moss, was going to the U, and then he decided to go to Utah at the last second because that program was in a little bit of disarray. So two Miami boys down there. And speaking of those Miami boys, it's going to really help them this week because it's a little hot. Let's check on the weather as we get started this morning. 90 degrees at 1 p.m. and in a real feel of 103. There are storms currently, I believe, thunderstorms right now. Thunderstorms up to kickoff. You might see some thunderstorms and some rain in the 2 p.m. hour. 91 degrees, real feel of 103. 3 p.m., 90 degrees, real feel of 102. 4 p.m., 89 degrees, real feel of 100. That is some heat, folks. That is some heat, folks. So expect to see a lot of subbing in and out today. A lot to expect to see a lot of substitutions. Oops. You guys get to see a little bit of my little error in the production here. See a little bit of my background. But it's it's going to be hot today, folks, and that's going to play a factor as well. So it's going to be a lot of subbing in and out. A lot of Tyler Kroft and Dawson Knox probably in and out. A lot of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary swapping in and out. You might see the receivers sort of swapping in and out a lot. That's the reason why I think you might see a little bit more traditional 11 and 12 personnel. They might want to slow things down. In order to keep their players fresh and to keep their players from cramping. I like this comment here from Sheldon Cole. He says, stay hydrated, stay humble, and stay hungry and aggressive. I like that comment from Sheldon Cole there. So it's going to be a weather day. Let's take a look at the injury reports now. John Brown, full practice on Thursday and Friday. He's going to play. Vernon Butler's going to play, which is really going to help in the absence of Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. Tyrell Dodson's going to play today. He'll be the starting Mike linebacker. Edmonds is out. Fromm will be the third quarterback. He won't probably dress. Jerry Hughes, full participant. He'll play. Isaiah McKenzie will play. Matt Milano is out, and Delshon Phillips is out. I was really surprised Delshon Phillips didn't get put on injured reserve. I was really surprised. Can't believe they wasted a roster spot on him. Being sort of the reserve player that he is, I would have assumed with these new rules they would have put him directly onto IR the second he got hurt with a quad injury, and would have just given him a 3-week reprieve. So I was a little surprised by that. We have here the Miami Dolphins injury report, a little more grainy. Their backup safety is not going to play today. Grant is probably going to play today. Xavier Howard is going to be on a pitch count again, but he'll probably play more than the 40% of the snaps he played last week. Byron Jones will be playing. Devontae Parker is questionable. This is crazy to me. This is absolutely crazy to me, the Devontae Parker injury. And I mentioned it on Thursday. This is a guy who was battling a hamstring injury all of training camp. He was battling this hamstring injury. They put him out there week 1. By the first half of the game, this guy is hurt, and he's out for the rest of the game. And now he's limited in practice this week, and we're expecting him to play. If Devontae Parker plays today, I fully expect him to be a decoy. I don't know why the Miami Dolphins are taking the risks that the Buffalo Bills seem to be unwilling to take with these soft tissue injuries. But I don't think Devontae Parker is going to be much of a threat today if he plays, because he's going to be playing on one leg. I can't imagine he'll be full force with that hamstring. It's baffling to me. It's quite honestly baffling to me. If he's out there, he'll be a decoy. maybe the thought process going through Brian Flores and Shane Gailey's mind. Guys like Preston Williams, guys like Jakeem Grant, guys like Isaiah Ford, those weapons need other guys to sort of take the double coverages and the pressure and the attention off of them in order to be successful. So maybe Devontae Parker is simply going to be out there as a decoy to take the attention off of some of their other playmakers. But again, blows my mind. Kyle Van Noy is going to play. Preston Williams, still coming off that ACL, is going to play. Landon Roberts is out with a concussion. So Camille Gruger-Hill is going to start at linebacker. So a bunch of injuries on both sides. A bunch of injuries on both sides to talk about. Ryan Teal, I really appreciate the super like. He says, smash those likes. I appreciate it. We got 172 people here on Facebook, got 120 or so here on YouTube. Smash those likes, guys. If you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win today, if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this football game today, smash those likes and bring the good juju. Bring all the good vibes. Let's bring all the good vibes to Bills Mafia today. Jacob Anders says, can they retroactively put a player on IR? To my knowledge, because I've seen a couple of people ask this question this week, to my knowledge, the answer is no. They cannot retroactively put a player on injured reserve. So to my knowledge, and again, I haven't seen the fine print of the CBA. To my knowledge, if Tremaine Edmonds or Matt Milano do end up on IR, it would be 3 weeks from the next game, not from this week. So I do not think you can retroactively place a player on IR. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. And for those people who are feeling nerves, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And then there are other people saying, don't feel nervous, bro. Don't feel nervous. Like, it's the Dolphins. This is a better team than the New York Jets. This is a better football team than the New York Jets. And we're missing two of our best football players. And they both play relatively the same position on defense. It's not like we're missing a tackle and a safety or a linebacker and a wide receiver. We are missing two linebackers, two of our starting linebackers. Two, in my opinion, Tremaine Edmonds is an all-pro. Matt Milano should be an all-pro. So to me, two all-pro caliber linebackers are missing today. It's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. So let's take a look at some of these depth charts. Let's take a look at some of these depth charts today. Let's take a look and see what we're working with today as the Bills take on the Miami Dolphins. Let's see what the Bills and the Dolphins are working with today. And let's start with the Dolphins offense because we're missing things on defense. So let's actually start with this depth chart right here. We look at Miami's offensive line. Austin Jackson, rookie left tackle from University of Southern California. Huge project. Held up relatively well last week, surprisingly, in my opinion, against the New England Patriots. Eric Flower paid a lot of money. He's a big guard. Ted Karras paid some decent money. He's a center that can get pushed around. Solomon Kinley, much like Eric Flowers, big boy, but he's also a rookie. And Jesse Davis is the right tackle. He's pretty much only starting because they don't want Robert Hunt, two rookies, to start on the right side of that offensive line. That's essentially the only reason Jesse Davis is starting at right tackle. He's a well above replacement level player in the National Football League. They obviously have Fitzy, who threw 3 picks last week, but we know he runs hot and cold. And it's really interesting in the Miami Dolphins backfield. Jordan Howard, there's some rumors that he's been dealing with a hamstring, only played 15% of the snaps last week. Matt Breida, only 23% of the snaps last week. And then Myles Gaskin got 63% of the workload last week. So that should be super interesting to note. So when we look, guys, at this depth chart for Miami, I have some names highlighted here. Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips. It's going to be on these guys to set the tone for our defense today. Because if you look at the weak side linebackers and the middle linebackers and the strong side linebackers for the Buffalo Bills, yikes. I'm rooting for Tyrell Dodson. I am. I think it's a great story. He'll be starting at the Mike linebacker today. A.J. Klein, you saw Le'Veon Bell before he literally pulled his hamstring in the middle of the play, how he was working A.J. Klein. You got Deion Lacey behind him. You probably have Tyler Matakevich and Andre Smith at the strong side. You're going to see a lot of nickel. And you are going to see a lot of Serraniel and DeMarlo on the field, a lot of dime packages, things of that nature to make up for it. But Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, today's your day. Austin Jackson got absolutely worked over in the Holiday Bowl by A.J. Epinesa at the University of Iowa. Austin Jackson was considered a huge project and a reach being taken in the first round. First round caliber prospect, athlete, not a first-round caliber football player. Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes, go out there and do your jobs today and get in Ryan Fitzpatrick's face. Force pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick so he makes some stupid throws that we all know he's capable of making. Jerry, Mario, it's on you to do that. That is their job today. Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips. Yes, it's your job today to not only wreak havoc on Ryan Fitzpatrick, force him to the outside for Trent Murphy to get some nice wrap-up sacks today. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That's job number one. But job number two, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson. It's Tyrell Dodson and A.J. Klein behind you. We're going to be playing a lot of nickel. I know Chan Gailey runs a spread offense, but they like to power run out of that spread offense. Do not let this running game get cooking. Don't let them do it. And it's up to these 6 guys up front. Hughes, Addison, Oliver, Jefferson, Butler, Phillips. Don't let them get cooking in the run game. Force pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick with 4 or 5 guys. That's what these highlighted players have to do today in order to make up for the deficiencies in the linebacking core. That is what needs to happen, period, end of story. Anyone have any questions about, what's rolling with this depth chart here before we move into the next depth chart? I'll take a couple questions here. Anyone got any questions? Someone says, I think this is the week that AJ Epinesa starts. I think they might want to put all the linebacker bodies out there that they can. So I don't even know. That's a great question. I don't know. I would like it. Rumors are he slimmed down a lot. AJ Epinesa maybe lost too much weight. So who knows how much he would help you in the run game. But it'll be really interesting. All right, so let's head over now to the next depth chart, and let's look at the skill position players. Trey White's gonna be matched up on, I don't even know. I think the Bills last week didn't even care. They just threw Trey White out on one side, Levi Wallace on the other side. They didn't really care about matchups because there were no alphas. Devontae Parker plays. I'm sure Trey White will be on him. Preston Wilson will be covered by Levi Wallace. They might put Trey on Preston because Preston's more physical, more aggressive. You're going to see a lot of Teron Neal in the slot. You'll see Teron Neal, D. Marlowe, and then obviously Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. The Miami Dolphins skill positions are interesting, right? Devontae Parker is going to be pretty much a decoy, in my opinion, if he plays. Isaiah Ford came in for him, could not get any separation. I'm not worried with Trey White or Levi Wallace on Isaiah Ford. The Bills do play zone, whereas last week New England played man. So who knows? Maybe the Bills get a little bit more aggressive at the line of scrimmage this week. I doubt it. Levi Wallace on Preston Williams is something to watch. Mike Gesicki was essentially used as their slot receiver. Jakeem Grant came in and he did all those gadget things that like Isaiah McKenzie does. He lined up a little bit on the outside, but Mike Gesicki was the guy that they used as their slot receiver. Chan Gailey doesn't really like tight ends. His tight ends are glorified blockers. Mike Gesicki came in and it was pretty much their big slot. So expect to see Teron Neal on Mike Gesicki, Jordan Poyer on Mike Gesicki. So it'll be really interesting to see what the matchups look like in that secondary. All right, let's see some comments here in the comments section. See if you think anything. Can Poyer cover Gesicki? Yeah, they both can. So, Todd Barker says, can Poyer cover Gesicki? Hyde, he came into this league as a nickel corner. He played corner at Iowa. Poyer came into this league as a corner, played corner at Oregon State. These are 2 very good covered safeties. So it wouldn't surprise me with the injuries at linebacker to see the Buffalo Bills use that approach and use their safeties there. Someone says, I call him Charlie Day the first time I seen him on the podcast. I get that a lot from a bunch of people. Someone, a Dale reference, was that It's Always Sunny in the comment section? I'm not too sure, but yeah. We got a good take here. I like from Ford J. Mott. Says, going to see a lot of nickel blitzes, predict a sack out of Teron Johnson. That's tough. And here's why. Because if that, we blitzed Micah Hyde a couple of times last week, right? Against the New York Jets. There was a couple of occasions where he blitzed and he was late getting to the blitz. And if you give Ryan Fitzpatrick less guys in coverage and you're late getting there with your pressure, unless they can correct that, Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's how he's going to eat you alive. So I like your thinking there. Get as much pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick as possible, but you need to make sure that blitz gets there, or they can create a big play off of that. Andrew Miller says go 3 safeties. Do we go 3 safeties? I've actually been a proponent of that for a while. If you think Jaquan Johnson is good, maybe this is a week where you, with Mike Gesicki playing in the slot, you take a Jordan Poyer or a Micah Hyde and you make them your nickel corner this week. And you say, hey, you're the Mike Gesicki stopper. You're going to cover Mike Gesicki. And Jaquan Johnson takes the role of a safety. That is something where, like, obviously we don't see practice every day, but it's something that's possible. I think more than likely you'll see D. Marlowe and Saran Neal in the lineups as the nickels, or as the big nickels, or in the dime packages. Legend Trickset says, have the starting lineups come out yet? Starting lineups don't come out till game day. Like, if anyone I think who has seen Sean McDermott's press conferences and heard some of the stories in recent weeks know how protective he is over that lineup. So those starting lineups, you're not going to see it till game day, and those aren't going to be the lineups that we see for the entire game. Just because the team starts like 4 linebackers, like say Andre Smith or Tyler Matakevich is on the field for the first play, doesn't mean that that's what you're going to see the whole game either. Like, there's going to be a lot of different substitutions and things of that nature over the course of the game. Michael Murphy says, rattle Fitzpatrick early. I agree. Get him in a bad headspace. Get him in a really bad headspace and get Brian Flores to start thinking about Tua Tagovailoa. Get Brian Flores to start thinking about it. Now, we don't want Tua to come in and do what he did for Alabama in the second half when he took over for Jalen Hurts in the national championship game. But get Brian Flores in that Tua Tagovailoa headspace. Get an interception early. Force a fumble early. Get a ton of 3-and-outs early. Score early. Build up a big early lead. Shoot their confidence a little bit. Those are what good teams do. Okay? So, excuse me real quick while I send the invite to our next hour's hosts. Here so they can join you guys. Apologize. This is 2 weeks in a row. I forgot to do it before the show started. All right. So let's continue to look at some more of the depth charts. All right. Let's look at the Bills offense now. All right. Actually, let's start over here. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Miami's defense. This is where I think we can take advantage of them. Christian Wilkins, Devin Godchaux, Emmanuel Ogbah up front, Roquan Davis up front. You could see their usage last week, their snap count percentage last week. Shaq Lawson played a lot last week, 97.5% of the snaps. They're going to alternate between 34 and 43. They're very multiple. They'll run a lot of nickel. Kyle Van Noy got injured in that game. He only played 66% of the snaps. What really gets me is the middle there, Jerome Baker and Camus Grugier-Hill. I think that this is a defense you can run up the middle against. This is a defense that you can run up the middle against. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Zach Moss and Devin Singletary become maybe a more of a part of this offense. Not because I think Josh Allen sucks. Not because I think that Josh Allen isn't capable of beating the Miami Dolphins in the air. I just really do thoroughly believe that the weakness of this defense is right up the middle. Right up the middle. Grugier-Hill, Jerome Baker, they're smaller linebackers. That weakness is up the middle. So attack that middle, exploit that middle, run the ball, 30 times today. Give Devin Singletary 15 carries. Give Zach Moss 30 carries. Let Josh Allen throw 35 times instead of 46 times. That's not a bad balance. These are 2 Miami kids. Who are going to come out. Maybe didn't have the best week last week. I know Zach Moss. Zach Moss, that 1.8 yards per carry is going to be eaten away at him. I know he scored a touchdown. I know he caught a pass or two. But that 1.8 yards per carry is going to be eaten away at him. He's used to that Miami heat. Devin Singletary. Everyone thought he was going to be the workhorse this year. Devin Singletary been working out all offseason. Was he working off all offseason for 8 carries a game? No, he wasn't. Brian Daboll likes to play to the weakness of his opponents. Expect to see a heavy dose of Motor and Moss today, and expect them to be hungry out there when they're out there on the football field, and expect them to be running with aggression over this Miami defense. And this Miami defense can be exploited. especially up the middle with a guy like a Landon Roberts out. Grugier Hill is a smaller linebacker. Jerome Baker is a smaller linebacker. This is a team full of new parts that's still getting comfortable. Shaq Lawson rotating between end and weak side linebacker. Pitch counts for players in their secondary. This is a defense that is still trying to figure out what it is and how to play Brian Flores and Brian Flores' scheme. So what we need to see today, not because we don't believe in Josh Allen, but what we need to see today is we need to see the running game be established a little bit. I'm not saying it has to be 80% of our offense or 70% of our offense or 60% of our offense, but it needs to be a part of our offense. And before I head out here, let's take a look at the secondary, because the secondary is really interesting, and I think this is really important to know going into the game. Xavier Howard's on a pitch count. So he's your CB2. He's man-to-man. He's going to be man-to-man against John Brown. Noah Igbenegine, the rookie first-round draft pick, will be subbing in. And when he's not subbing in, he'll be playing the nickel. So it's going to be Igbenegine, Howard, and Byron Jones. Those are very good corners. However, those are very good corners against very good receivers. So Josh Allen, it's about throwing into tight windows today. It's about throwing up those 50-50 balls, leading receivers open, making the tough throws. Josh Allen's got to show he can do it today because, in the past, we'd all be pooping our pants over what we see here. We'd all be shitting our pants. Maybe it's a little too early for that language. I apologize. We'd all be shitting our pants when we see this. Not anymore, folks. We got John Brown. We got Stephon Diggs. We got Cole Beasley. Noah Igbenegine is a bigger nickel corner. Cole Beasley can maneuver around him. Igbenegine's a little stiff. So Cole Beasley should be able to maneuver himself open. I like Dawson Knox over the middle of the field today. And obviously I mentioned Motor and Moss. I fully expect the offense to be just as potent as it was last week. I fully expect our offense to be just as potent as it was last week. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will bid you adieu until the 11 o'clock hour, when I am rejoined with my co-host, so I don't have to talk this whole time and be the awkward guy trying to read the comments section and give you my takes. But I will rejoin you at the top of the next hour, 11 to 12:30. We'll bring you right up to kickoff. One last question here from Bill's Guys N. I think that's my dad. So I got to answer my dad's question, right? He says, will we ever see a 50-yard post throw? Maybe today off the play action. So what you got to do in order to create separation against really good corners, man-to-man corners, because that's the defense that the Miami Dolphins is playing. In order to create separation, you need time. You need time to get down the field. So establish the run early and then utilize that play action. Josh Allen was the most effective quarterback in the National Football League last week off of the play action. Utilize that play action, make those throws down the field, whether it's John Brown, whether it's Stephon Diggs, whether it's Gabriel Davis, running those post routes down the field. Think back to that New England game last year, that John Brown deep ball last year in the New England game last year. Think back to that. That's how you're going to get that deep ball today. You're going to get that deep ball by establishing the run, and giving those wide receivers a time to get downfield in the play action. We got a super chat here from Ryan Teal. I want to see how Lawson plays against their offense. He had nothing but respect for Josh Allen. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Nothing but respect for Josh Allen this week. He was singing his praises. I love Shaq Lawson. I selfishly wanted Shaq Lawson back and Trent Murphy gone, despite the fact that Trent Murphy's on an expiring contract. We ended up getting AJ Epinesa, so it's a wash. But it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Shaq Lawson plays. He got 97% of those snaps. Hopefully, he just has an average day today, right? And then he comes out hot against the Patriots and the Jets when they play them. So, all right, I will now officially bid you adieu, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back at the top of the next hour, but taking over for me are going to be our fantasy gurus, Casey Breed and Kyle Knapp, to take all your fantasy and betting questions on this Buffalo Bills football Sunday.
What is going on? Nah.
How we doing?
I'm doing good, dude. What's going on, Bills Mafia? Are we awake?
I'm ready to go.
Wow. You gonna wear the Stevie jersey today? I mean, you've got to,
sorry,
right?
I got to turn the right way. It's right here. Yeah, I mean, I got it right there.
Yeah.
I had to have it up and ready for you. I knew you were going to bring it up, so I had to make sure it was behind me, ready to go.
Well, here's the thing. Remember when we started this whole conspiracy theorist on, what happens with the games and all this good stuff? I watched the game on my phone last week, and guess what happened?
Okay.
We won, right? So
I think you got to do the same thing.
I'm never going to have the privilege to watch the game on a real TV ever again. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. All right, so let's jump into some fantasy. I've got the coffee already made. It's my wife's coffee. It's like some caramel cream, whatever. It tastes awful. But let's talk fantasy, okay?
Let's do it.
So Buffalo Bills, we're gonna jump into Buffalo Bills fantasy. And before I do that, somebody in the comment section said Cam Akers was a bust, and not starting the morning off right. But we're going to talk about Buffalo Bills fantasy. We're going to hit on the skill position players like Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, and so forth, so on. And as we do this, we're hoping that y'all in the audience can type out a comment on who we would rather sit or who we'd rather start. Okay. So Nap, let's talk about it. Who is your must start on the Bills team today against Miami?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is Josh Allen, and no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Like,
so I don't even want to get into him because like he's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback just about every single week. I think for me, honestly, the must start is going to be Devin Singletary. I think the running game gets on this week. I think he might be able to bust off a couple of longer runs, 10, 15 yards. That we saw last week. The Dolphins' rushing defense, not the best. They let up a lot of yards to New England. And, I mean, I expect him to be still involved in the passing game. I think he caught, 5 catches? I think he had 5 catches last week too. So if you're in a PPR league especially, I have Devin Singletary as a must-start.
Yeah, 100%. And if you don't have Devin Singletary, I also suggest starting Zach Moss. And I feel like that's just a cop-out answer because we're going to run all over Miami today. But, man, Zach Moss, it looked like they were trying to get him going against the Jets, and they just couldn't make any headway, which is okay because the Jets, ironically, have a very good defensive front, right? But I think against Miami, this is where Zach Moss, they're really going to try to push him, get him going in the run game, and get him ready to rock and roll. This is going to be the game that if you have either Moss or Singletary in your fantasy lineup, it's a must start. Whether it's a run back 1, 2, or the flex position, you got to start him.
I'd probably go with Moss as I wouldn't put him at running back 1. I'd make him my flex option because I think there are going to be better options than Moss. But I think Moss could have that 50-yard game with 20 yards receiving and a touchdown because we saw last week, he gets the goal line carries. Devin Singletary's not getting those goal line carries. As soon as the Bills get inside the 10-yard line, it's Zach Moss. That's where he's going to eat.
Mm-hmm. So Devin Singletary is more of a PPR running back. Now, I only play PPR. I think it's more fun. Personally, I only play PPR, but Devin Singletary is your PPR running back. And then Zach Moss is, sure, you can have him in a PPR league, but he's also going to get you those touchdowns, those big, giant points on the touchdowns. Now, that's the run game. Those are the obvious answers. You got to start the run game against Miami. Their defense looked awful against the run last week against the Patriots. Now, let's talk about Stephon Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox, okay? So let's start with the big one, Stephon Diggs. I wrote in my article for thebuffalofanatics.com, I wrote that Stephon Diggs was going to bust out. This was going to be the game that we saw him go over 100 yards and get a touchdown. I'm walking it back. I'm taking it back. I am stealing it back. That was a fever dream that I was writing late at night and that I really want to see. I don't see it happening, right? I see that Buffalo, we're going to focus on the run, and Stephon Diggs, yes, sure, he's going to get those tough catches. We saw that in week 1, but he's not going to get the 100 yards, and he's probably not going to get a touchdown this week. This is not the week that I see him getting a touchdown. Do you agree with that statement, or are you saying no on that one as well?
So I'd play him, but I don't think he's getting the 100 touchdown. And it goes back to, we play PPR. So I would play him because he's going to get 5-6 catches. He's probably going to get 60, 70, 80 yards again. I would expect from Stephon Diggs, similar to what he did last week, where he gets the catches, he gets the yards. He probably gets you 14 to 16 points, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
But I do think that once the Bills get into the red zone, I think it's just they're going to try and run the ball because they know that's what they can do, and that's where the defense is lacking. So I don't expect him to have a touchdown this week. I'd still play him, though.
Yeah, he's on my team, and I'm not taking him out of my lineup, right? Because I don't have better options on my bench, okay? And, I'm not stupid, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, well, he's only going to give me 60 points. Let's take him out, right? I'm not going to do that. Plus, I lost last week thanks to George Kittle getting hurt, right? Yeah. That was really upsetting for me. So I've got to get a big win. I've got to get a win this week. Thank goodness it's against a guy that doesn't really pay attention to anything. He called me earlier this week, and he was like, hey, man, what's going on? I was like, hey, we're not friends this week. You know that, right? And he was like, why? And I was like, it's fantasy football, right? And then after I told him it was fantasy football week, I started telling him who to play in his lineup because I felt bad, right? So hopefully I get a win this week.
Okay, I have a problem with that. You can't look. If you're gonna say we're not friends this week because it's fantasy football week, you can't go and give him advice on his lineup. Then there's no hard feelings. You can help him the next week.
No, I'm too cocky, right? I've got a lot of friends who will text me and ask me, questions about who am I starting for fantasy? Hey, I'm doing this. Would you do this? Would you do that? Right? So when he called me, it was that itch in the back of my mind, hey, people think that you're good at fantasy, give them advice. You know what I'm saying? So I had to. It was one of those. It was my fatal. I can't help it. It's my fatal flaw. So I told him who to start. I haven't checked his lineup to see if he took my advice. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. It is what it is. But yeah, so I've got Stephon Diggs in my lineup. Now, this is something that I don't know if it got on people's nerves, but I said that John Brown was going to be the go-to receiver for Josh Allen. And I think Bills Mafia, they got so excited about Stephon Diggs coming over. They're like, yes, that's going to be the number 1 wide receiver, and that's going to do this. And yes, eventually he will be. But as of right now, John Brown is Josh Allen's dude. He's going to look to him. He's going to go to him early and often. That's his security blanket as of right now. And that's what we saw.
Did you see the third down numbers? So when it comes to fantasy. Did you see the third down numbers last week?
I did not, but most of the third down, I remember Stephon Diggs, there was one third down where he caught it and then got absolutely destroyed. And I said, his back is broken. We do not have Stephon Diggs. So that's what comes to mind there. But I still think John Brown is going to be the dude that Josh Allen is looking to. I
think there's a possibility, and this is kind of like a cop-out answer, but I actually truly believe this, that I think that both Stephon Diggs and John Brown can be Josh Allen's go-to guy, where it doesn't matter which one of them he throws to. If he sees one of them, he's comfortable going there, and he wants to go. I don't think that it really fully matters if you're talking about Stephon Diggs or John Brown, just from what we saw last week, because we already know John Brown has the chemistry with Josh Allen. That's not going away. You don't just magically lose that after everything they've built up, unless they're I don't know, years apart. But that's not happening right now. Yeah. So yeah. I don't think that they're going to lose that connection, but I think that Stephon Diggs' connection with Josh Allen, it's only going to get better. You see all the videos and everything. It's going to keep building and building and building.
They play Call of Duty together, so that tells you everything you need to know, right?
Right.
But the point I was trying to make is, as of right now, right, John Brown is the dude, right? Stephon Diggs is getting there. He is getting, and he will eventually overtake him, and that's what I've been saying, right? That it will eventually get even, right? But right now, John Brown's up. And the point of saying that is John Brown looks like a better fantasy start this week over Stephon Diggs if you're pitting them against each other, right? Because I see John Brown getting a touchdown. Yeah. So I see John Brown getting a touchdown over Stephon Diggs today, right? So that's why I'm saying if you have both of them in your lineup, right, and you have to choose, I'm going with John Brown. I'm riding with John Brown today over Stephon Diggs.
All right. I actually think that today is a good day for Dawson Knox. And I said it last week. I'm probably just going to keep riding this train until we play a team with bad linebackers. I gotta go with it. I went with this take before the season even started, said he was going to be good. I got to roll with it. But when I look at the Dolphins secondary, like they have good corners. Whether it's outside corners or nickel, like they're good. Even if they're a little banged up this week, they're good players. They have a lot of money invested into their secondary. So if I look at who's on the Bills, who can actually put up some fantasy points this week, I think Dawson Knox has a chance to. We saw the tight end screen last week. I want to see more of that. That got me just extremely hyped. I think that was a great way to use him, like incredible way to use him. I want to see more of that, but I don't think that there's many players on the Dolphins who can actually stick with Dawson Knox if the Bills decide that they want to use him, because they should. And he's had success against the Dolphins previously too. So there's precedent set there.
So are you starting Dawson Knox in your fantasy lineup? And if you are, how many points are you seeing Dawson Knox get?
If you don't have like a clear-cut tight end one, then I would. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think he's going to have like a 20-point game or anything where he gets 5-6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. I'm probably messing up the math right there in my head, but
that's fine.
Travis Kelce or like one of those top guys, Zach Ertz. I have no problem starting Dawson Knox because I think he can get 4 catches, maybe 40, 50 yards and a touchdown, something like that. So I think he can get you into double digits this week.
Okay, all right, because I have Kittle, right? And I need to redo my lineup because Kittle is still in the lineup right now, right? And I'm not worried because, like I said earlier in the show, that the guy that I'm playing does not pay attention at all. So I might start Knox, if he's available. Although I talk about him like you talk about him, so I'm sure people in my league are stashing him somewhere on their bench and hiding on to him. But let's see some fantasy questions. Who are somebody that you have on your bench right now or in your lineup right now that you are having questions about starting? Go ahead and throw those up on the comments section while we keep talking. Can
we go to Ryan's comment real quick? Ryan
Virgilio, Ryan's comment.
Directly against what I was just saying. He said, we say every week Knox will break out, and yet he never does.
One day he will, and one day it's gonna happen. And one day we'll be like, "You heard it here first. We said it."
Yes, I'm a Dawson Knox believer. It might take a little bit more time, but I am a Dawson Knox believer. It's not going to be every single week with fantasy points. And he even said 5 points. That's what he expects Dawson Knox to get. But
that's fair.
Yeah, I'm a Dawson Knox believer. I think if there's a week where you have a tight end that's banged up, put him in your fantasy lineup. He can make it happen. He can get you 7 to 12 points probably.
Let's go to Ethan. Man, I can't put people's comments up, can I? I think that's
I was trying to do that. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Hey, we'll figure it out, guys. But we're gonna go to Ethan Waldron. That says Tyler Lockett or Juju. Right, that one's an interesting one. Right, because
is it though?
The Steelers Big Ben's back, so at this point,
look at the defenses they're playing too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out real quick. Who does the Steelers play? The
Steelers play Denver, and they don't have A.J. Bouye, who's their top corner.
They have
Michael Ojemudia. He was like a mid to late round pick, I think. He's solid. He looked good, but I don't think that he's going to win consistently against Juju. I would play Juju. I have Juju on my team, and I would have him as a must start every single week since Big Ben is back.
Yeah, I'm riding with Juju on that one as well, 100%, because the Denver's secondary is kind of lacking. All right, who's next? Juju. Everybody in the comments section is saying start Juju. Ooh. If you don't start Juju, Tom, what's up?
I actually like this one. Knox or Gesicki?
Knox.
Because this is a scenario where now we flip the script and the Bills' starting linebackers are out. Tremaine Edmonds not playing.
Yes.
Matt Milano, he's like the coverage linebacker, out. I don't want to walk. I'm not going to walk back the take that I would start Gesicki over Knox, because I would start Knox. I have no problem with that. But I like Gesicki this week. If we were giving our like stardom sit-em, I would have Gesicki in. Like I'm fine with him playing. I think he's in a similar boat to Dawson Knox, where if you don't have one of those top tier guys, because of the reason why I said the linebackers being out.
Well, because of the linebackers being out, but also because of Miami doesn't have many weapons, whereas on the other end of the spectrum, Buffalo has a ton of weapons, right? So if you're looking for someone to target on that Miami, offense, you're looking at Gesicki, right? So I have no problem starting him. Obviously, we don't want him to do good this week, right? So. But, I don't mind starting him over Knox just for the fact of there's a lot of weapons for Buffalo. I don't think Knox will ever be just the go-to guy in Buffalo, which is fine because we have so many weapons, right? So as far as fantasy points, he's probably not going to put up, the 24. Maybe he does once in a while, but he doesn't have to, and that's okay because fantasy is not real life, and we want wins over fantasy wins, right? So I'm going with Gesicki there. There's a lot of questions coming around asking like this tight end or Knox, right? Everybody's wondering about Knox. Look, I'll tell you what an old man once told me, right? If you got one foot out the door, you might as well keep walking. So if you're already thinking about starting Knox, you might as well just keep rocking and rolling with it and go with your gut and start Knox. Seahawks are going to take down the Patriots today. 100%. Yes, they're going to start down. Ryan, I apologize. I cannot pronounce your last name. I can't pronounce a lot of things, so don't feel bad. But Ryan says, for my flex, should I start Diggs or Singletary? Ryan, start Singletary. Start Singletary, right? Because we're going to run all over Miami. We mentioned it earlier in the game, and I don't want to spend a lot in the game. We mentioned it earlier in the show, and I don't want to spend a lot of time backtracking on it. But just expect Singletary to get way more points than Diggs today. Right, so I would go ahead and I would start Singletary in your flex today.
I think especially if you think that Singletary can score a touchdown today, then I think that you have to start him.
Yeah, and I think he will. Yeah. Miles Sanders or Jonathan Taylor in my flex.
So this one's an interesting one. I'm actually looking up the matchups now.
I was about to say, is Miles Sanders, is he starting? He was hurt last week.
That's what. Yeah, I don't even actually know if he's like 100% at this point. Because Jonathan Taylor did not.
He's not.
Go ahead.
Well, Jonathan Taylor didn't put up a lot of points. He didn't get.
Yeah.
He should have. They abandoned the running game, in my opinion. I think they abandoned the running game, but he was not obviously the clear cut. It was Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines, right? But Marlon Mack got hurt halfway through it. Right. So at that point, Jonathan Taylor came in. What did he do? He caught a pass on a screenplay and almost scored a touchdown. But that's where most of his yards came from. I like Jonathan Taylor. He's in my lineup. I'm probably going to start him today. Trying to figure out who they're playing. They're playing Minnesota. Minnesota does have a stout defensive line, but I'm still rocking and rolling with Jonathan Taylor. He's not hurt like Miles Sanders is. Even if Miles Sanders plays today, is he 100%? And that's what you got to think about. So I'm rocking and rolling with Jonathan Taylor on that, especially in a flex position.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm right there with you. If Sanders is healthy, I will roll with him. If Sanders is healthy, he's a must start. But with him, with there being some uncertainty on him, I'd roll with Taylor.
Kyler Murray or Rodgers from JK. What an awesome name. JK says Kyler Murray or Rodgers. Back in the day, I was drafting Rodgers like number 1 overall, right? He was like my go-to quarterback to grab. I loved it. And then about 3-4 years ago, he stopped giving me the fantasy points that I expect from a number 1 quarterback. The reason why I'm going to go Kyler Murray over Rodgers is the fact that, well, for one, Kyler Murray is playing Washington, right? They don't really have that good of a secondary.
No. Look at that defensive line. Did you see that?
Cool.
The football team. I almost said the old name. The football team's defensive line.
No. I get
they
that.
They destroyed. The Cardinals don't have the best. Yeah, but the Cardinals don't have the best offensive line either. I mean, they're better
Murray
than
gives
they were
you
last
the running
year,
aspect of the game. He gives you the running aspect of the game. He ran for over 100 yards and had over 200 yards throwing. Alone, D-Hop gave him like 150 yards. So I'm going Kyler Murray. Every time I bet against Kyler Murray, I end up getting burnt. And I'm not making that mistake again. I'm starting slowly but surely. I'm starting to like Kyler Murray. I like him over Rodgers, especially this game. It's okay if you don't nap. You're just a loser.
Dude, no. I have to. I'm going to put my foot down here. I'm adamantly disagreeing with you. I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I think he's great.
You know what?
But I think the matchup this week favors Aaron Rodgers better. He's going against a Lions defense that just lost. Like, they don't have their top cornerback anymore. Why do you think that Aaron Rodgers can't put up points when Mitchell Trubisky put up 3 touchdowns against the Lions defense in one quarter? Mitchell Trubisky put up 3 touchdowns in one quarter, and you think Aaron Rodgers can't do that? I think he could put up 3 touchdowns in the game, and that's what you need.
The slight edge is the fact that Kyler Murray can run the ball better than Aaron Rodgers can. And Aaron Rodgers is sneaky, right? But Kyler Murray can run the ball, right? And he's going to give you those running lanes, right?
We can agree to disagree on who to start over. I don't think that there's a bad play there, though. If you have both guys in your lineup, I think they'll both put up points.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, use one for trade bait. What are you doing? JK, I need you to get back with us, right, and tell us, right, who was right. Obviously, it's me. You see our Twitter names up here on the screen, right? I need you to find me after the game and be like, hey, man, thank you so much. I started Kyler Murray. He got me 155 points, right? So I need you to do that for me. Let's see. Who is next?
If you do that, if that happens, don't at me. Just don't do it.
Don't do that. Yes, Adam. I need a win, guys. All right.
Yeah, because you didn't get the win last week. I'm sorry. I had but one time. That was one time. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Everybody needs one, right? That's how you get it going, right? My undefeated season starts this week, not last week. Everybody knows that, right? All right. See, JK said I was leaning towards Kyler. It is what it is.
I don't have a problem with either guy. I just would play Rodgers personally.
Nat hates Kyler Murray.
No, I don't.
Hates Kyler.
No. Do not get this. Look, do not. No. Do not put I don't want that put out there. I am a fan of Kyler.
I don't want that evil put on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
All right, what's going on, Rico? All right, guys, who's next? Who's got some more fantasy questions? Y'all want to hear a quick hot take? Yes, we do. All right, here's this, right? I got a 10-team. Rico says he's got a 10-team parlay with a big pot of $4,700. I hope it's all the teams that I put out there on in my picks this week because I'm 10-5-1, Rico. So just saying, right? I'm not that brave, guys. I'm not putting up. Look, if I put up close to $5,000 in a parlay, or however it is, like my wife would absolutely murder me. I'm gonna give y'all a quick hot take, right? Here it is. I'm not starting Mike Evans this week. I'm not.
I heard you say that.
I
heard you say that.
I'm not doing it.
Chris Godwin's out.
That's fine.
That's fine. I'm not doing it.
I don't want to start him.
Do you think the targets just go strictly to the tight ends then?
No, I just don't think he's healthy. And sure, even Mike Evans at like 60% or 70% is still a really good wide receiver, but he has a hamstring issue. And us as Buffalo fans, like we know what hamstring issues can do, right? If they don't sit him like we're doing with Josh Norman right now, right, then that hamstring is only going to get worse or he might re-aggravate it, right? So I'm not starting him. He's not at 100%. He's not going to be able to compete at 100%. And sure, like I said, even at 60 or 70%, Mike Evans is still a really, 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 really good wide receiver, but I'm just not doing it. right? I wanted to say that last week, and I didn't. And Mike Evans turned around
I
and
think
went out
we
and
said
got 9 points.
I think we said don't play Mike Evans. We got a hypothetical of like a start him, sit him, and I can't remember who it was, but we said start the other guy. We both said don't start Mike Evans, I think.
I've been on the don't start
that.
Mike Evans train for about like 2 weeks right now. So I'm not starting Mike Evans. I'm just not doing it. I don't trust it. It just is what it is. All right, who's next? Who's got some fantasy questions for us? I think I saw one up here. Start Diggs or Melvin Gordon. Here's my thing on Melvin Gordon. Don't let his 25 yards, random run, and 1 touchdown against the Tennessee Titans get you all hyped up, right? He did not look like the better back in Denver. Even with Phillip Lindsay being hurt, he still did not look like a must-start back, right? At this point, you're starting Diggs over Melvin Gordon, and that's my personal opinion. I'm sitting Melvin Gordon this week.
I would also sit Melvin Gordon. I don't like the matchup. It doesn't matter. Even if he played great last week, I don't like the matchup that the Broncos have. I mean, the Steelers' front seven is, I mean, they're fast. They get after the running back. We saw it last week. What did Saquon end up having? -6 yards, I think, at one point. I think he had -6 yards. I mean, maybe he ended up with 6 total yards. But, like, he had a terrible day, and they were always getting to him behind the line of scrimmage. And part of that is, you know, the Giants don't have as good of an offensive line. But part of it also just the Steelers are that good of a defense that they're going to, if they want to, they're going to stop the run.
Well, it's not only that, but like Melvin Gordon ain't Saquon. You know what I'm saying?
No, he's not.
Saquon didn't have a good day, you can almost guarantee Melvin Gordon is not going to have a good day. That's why I'm not taking Melvin Gordon. If I have a better option, which it sounds like you do, which is Stephon Diggs, I'm putting Stephon Diggs in there, even though I don't think he's going to have just the most outrageous day today against Miami. I'm still going with Stephon Diggs over Melvin Gordon. Does Bass come around today, or should Hauschka be taking his house off the market? Right? A lot of people are asking this question. Tyler Bass is going to have a long leash right now, right? We can all argue and be like, hey, he made that first field goal and it was taken away from him, blah, 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 and whatever. Any way you want to look at it, he's still going to have a pretty long leash. I don't think they're calling Hauschka back. They made a bold move by going with the rookie, and they're going to stick with the rookie, right?
Yeah,
that's
McDermott also
that's like doubling down on it.
He backed Tyler Bass this past week, saying that they believe in him and they think that he's going to get it together. So I don't have a problem sticking with the take that Tyler Bass is going to get it together, and he's definitely going to get the time. Like, they're going to give him a couple weeks. If he misses like 2 kicks this week, then he misses like 2 more next week. Maybe then they start thinking about it. But
you start looking at it.
I think if he only misses 1 this week, I don't think that they're considering bringing anybody in. If he goes like 2 for 3 or something, then I think they're still comfortable with him at this point.
But not only that, man, I think he's fine. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. A lot of people are freaking out about it, but I don't think it's a big deal. What do you think about Jerry Jeudy?
I like no. You know what? I don't. I don't like Jerry Jeudy. No, don't. I would not. I would not play Jerry Jeudy.
Why?
And matchups. I don't like. Sure. I don't like rookies going against really good defenses. And the Steelers are.
Yeah, and he is going to get through.
I just don't. I don't like that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with a young quarterback and a rookie wide receiver going against a really good defense like the Steelers. So, I mean, he could end up with 5 catches, 50 yards, something like that. 4 catches, 50 yards. I mean, he could put up some points, but I don't think that he's must start put up points by any means. I think there's got to be better options out there than him.
Oh yeah, I stashed him on my bench just because I love the way he was playing in Denver last week. I love the way he was playing in Denver, and he's eventually going to be the star there.
Yes.
I'm sure Denver has he has some Denver. They do have some players to go to, right? But eventually it's going to be Jerry Jeudy. He's going to be the guy that Drew Lock looks at. And Drew Lock's not looking at him. Something's going on down there, right? So that's why I stashed him, because I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be a star. He's going to be a fantasy king eventually.
All right, I like this one from Rico. He picked up Laviska Shenault And he said, should I bench Judy and put Brian Edwards in or Chenault? And this one's interesting.
Yeah, you have a lot of interesting. Send me your lineup because this is the second interesting scenario that you've straight up put out there. The other one was the Odell Beckham, and you were picking up Beasley, and I got killed on it on Twitter. But I was trying to explain to people hey, if I have to take the option in this scenario, this is what I'm going to do. And it's the same with this one. Picking up Chenault, should you bench Judy and put Edwards or Chenault?
So I saw an interesting stat. Brian Edwards, even though he didn't have a great day last week, he got I don't remember the percentage snap count, but he was out there for a majority of the snaps. He was out there for a majority of the routes run. So he's going to get a lot of playing time, but he's also going against a tough defense. If I had to pick one of those three this week, I would be more comfortable with Chenault just because we saw the Jaguars passing game have success. And it's not like I'm extremely comfortable with any of the three because I just don't like the Jaguars offense very much. It doesn't matter. They could have 2-3 weeks of great games. I'm still not going to be completely comfortable with them because we saw all of the talent they offloaded. However, that all being said, I'm still more comfortable with what I saw from their offense than playing Judy or Brian Edwards against really good defenses.
You make a great point because I'm looking at it right now. Edwards is playing New Orleans,
right?
Really good defense. Judy is playing Steelers, really good defense. Chenault was doing a lot in the passing game, and I want to say he also did a little bit in the run game as well. So they're going back to his college tape, really trying to get him going as a full-on gadget player, beast mode, but a wide receiver is what they were touting him to be when he came out in the draft. So yeah, sure. In that scenario, everybody, before you kill me, I'm going Chenault. Okay.
Yeah, that specific scenario. Yes.
Yeah. James Conner or Zach Moss?
Is James Conner is he healthy? Fully healthy this week?
That's the thing.
Because he didn't play last week. Okay, so this is going to be actually a hot take. Let me give you my.
He played and he got pulled out.
Did he? Okay.
You're going to say you don't like James Conner. You're going to say it.
So
go ahead.
I've actually had this take since the draft last year. I think Benny Snell's the better running back.
A lot of people are saying that they can be like what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are trying to be in Cleveland. And I say trying to be because if you do it one game, you got to be consistent with it. And a lot of people are saying that's what James Conner and Benny Snell can be. My thing with this is James Conner is if he's healthy. Of course, he got pulled out in week one because he got injured. But if he's healthy, he's going against Denver, and who played Denver last week? None other than King Henry. And he didn't do any damage against that defensive front in Denver. So once again, James
much
Conner,
more favorable matchup for Zach Moss. And I mean, following up playing side by side with a 100-yard rusher in Benny Snell, who I'm sticking with that take. I think Benny Snell is the better running back in that running back room. And I think we'll start to see that over the course of the season. But just going up against that combined with the playing against a good defense, it's tough to play James Conner this week.
I'm looking up Benny Snell real quick. He is only rostered on ESPN Fantasy in 53.7% of leagues. So if you're out there and you're looking for a quick running back 2 or flex option, let's go ahead and pick him up. I think James Conner is hurt right now, so go ahead and pick him up. Stash him on your bench for a little bit, or start him as your flex option. But he's going to blow up this year. I honestly believe that. He looked real good in week 1. Corey Davis or T.Y. Hilton? Yes, let's talk about it, Brandon. Let's talk about it. Brandon Lowe. I am on this Corey Davis train. I don't care who you are, I'm on it. And there's a couple of reasons why. A.J. Brown, hurt. Corey Davis looked great. Number 3, Corey Davis is in a contract year, right? Corey Davis is going to go out there and ball in a contract year because, once again, he's trying to get that money, right? They already declined that 5th-year option. But Corey Davis looked like Ryan Tannehill's go-to player off the play action, right? He didn't score a touchdown last week, but he got you around 17 points in a regular PPR league. Now he's going up against a Jacksonville defense that is suspect in the secondary now, without a lot of good secondary players. They've got C.J. Henderson, who had a interception off a tip, a bad throw and a tip from Phillip Rivers. But I'm starting Corey Davis all day long. Corey Davis. Shut it down.
I'm in on that too. I don't even have much else to add to that. I'm in on that. I like this one from Zachary Dunham, J.K. Dobbins or Jordan Howard.
I saw that. I've got J.K. Dobbins on my bench in my league, and I haven't started him yet. And I'm scared, to be honest with you.
If you have to pick between the two, I think there's just so much going on in the Ravens running game that you don't know, like, who's going to get the majority of the carries, because they have multiple running backs, plus Lamar Jackson is a great runner. You just don't know how it's going to go. I would that's tough, because we've seen Jordan Howard play really well against the Bills just last year.
But
it's a different scenario.
They're running their rookie running back who looks really good. I can't think of his name right now, but he actually looked really good, and that's who they were leaning on. Chan Gailey was going to him a lot over Jordan Howard. Yeah. In fact, last week, Jordan Howard got 8 attempts. He got 7 yards. He did have 1 touchdown, which boosted up his ratings, but in a PPR league, he got 6 points.
Yeah, so we just say just don't go for it. I would just say neither, personally, at this point in the season. I think later on in the season, I'd go with J.K. Dobbins. But at this point, if you have another option, go with that other option.
You're on ESPN. Go and look up Benny Snell real quick. Pick him up and drop one of them. I would drop Jordan Howard and keep J.K. Dobbins just to stash him on the bench. Benny Snell or James Conner, you're going with Benny Snell right now. James Conner's hurt. James Robinson or DeAndre Smith. I think you're supposed to.
Swift.
Is it DeAndre Swift? Yeah, Swift. Here's a hot take for everybody. I'm going James Robinson.
Talk me through this one.
I really am. Okay, so did you happen to go back and watch the rewind on the Jags game against Indy?
I did not. No.
Okay, he looks pretty fire. Like, he looked like hot damn. You know what I'm saying? He looked good. And the announcers, the color commentator, they were like, "Oh, he was the 4th string running back starting to camps." Like, well, who was in front of him, right? Because this dude looked great. He was doing it all. He was doing it in the run game, and he was doing it in the pass game. And dude, he just looked really good. He's going to get the touches on the goal line as well. I think
want to start.
There's a point in the game.
So you want to start him against the Titans defense?
Yes, because Adrian Peterson, who is 105 years old, looked 10 times better than DeAndre Swift. So, yeah, I'm going James Robinson. Okay. I think he's going to shock a lot of people. In fact, I ran and I picked him up to stash him on my bench, right, just in case I can use him as trade bait. But, yes, James Robinson, I honestly believe, like, go back and watch that Jacksonville game or flip to some highlights on that Jacksonville game. There's a point in the game in week 1 where they just kind of start going away from the run. And I think they got scared because Indy went up, right? But when they went back to the run, it started going very smoothly. So I like James Robinson. I'm going to go with him until DeAndre Swift actually proves something, until he starts looking better than Adrian Peterson, who's 105 years old.
He's going to play. Adrian Peterson is going to play forever. He's never going to. He's going to do what Frank Gore's doing, except for he's going to do it even more so. He's just going to get every single team in the NFL. Except he's not just going to touch one division. He's going every single team.
I want to go back to the James Conner versus Snell question, because we're getting information that James Conner isn't hurt from Jake. He's cleared to start. I think this goes back to this really goes back to the Mike Evans take that I had earlier. Is he 100%, right? Because sure, if James Conner is 60%, he's still going to be okay. But I like a Benny Snell who is healthy, who's going to get those carries. I think he's going to get those carries over James Conner this week.
I'm sticking with my take, whether he's hurt or not. Benny Snell, either way.
Snell.
I'm rolling with it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just don't like James Conner. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I like Benny Snell. I liked him in college, and I like him now. I like this one, Michael Gallup or Mike Williams.
I saw that.
And I think this one is a close one because like Michael Gallup is technically like the wide receiver 3. And Mike Williams, technically. I mean, anybody can go off in that offense, even if they didn't last week. But I think it's interesting because of just the quarterbacks. And I just don't think that Tyrod can take advantage of a receiver like Mike Williams consistently.
That's the big thing. And Mike Williams should be putting up over 100 yards every single game. He's talented. Tough matchup. He only had 4 receptions last week against a bad Cincinnati defense, right? 69 yards. He only put up 10 points in a PPR league. I'm going to go look up Gallup real quick.
Gallup.
I like Gallup.
I like Gallup too. And not only do I like him because I think he's in a better situation. I think his matchup is better. We saw what the Seahawks did to the Falcons defense last week.
Yes.
Where they just tore them apart. The Falcons have a terrible secondary. Like their best corner is the rookie from Clemson.
If you want garbage points,
yes.
That's it right there. Not only Gallup got 3 receptions, 50 yards, 8 points in a PPR league against the Rams, right? But Atlanta had to put up over 500 yards of offense.
He should have had more. He should have had an extra 4 or 5 points from that catch that was called offensive pass interference, which was just terrible. But yeah, I mean, I'm all in on Gallup over Mike Williams this week.
Yeah, I like Gallup. I like Gallup as well. Smoke Brown all day long. Yeah, we're starting him. Julian Edelman or Corey Davis. I'm not starting Julian Edelman. I'm not, and it goes back to it goes back to Cam wanting to overthrow his wide receivers. We didn't see a lot of Cam throwing in week 1 just because they were playing the Dolphins. The run game sucks, so obviously they took advantage of the run. But Cam likes to overthrow his wide receivers by like a mile, and Julian Edelman is 4'11". So, unless the dude has mad hops, he's going to have to be jumping a lot to be able to catch those balls. And I know that's a stupid take. I know a lot of y'all are going to kill me on it, but in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking I'm not taking Julian Edelman right now. I am, however, on the Corey Davis hype train. Everybody can jump on. Come on board. I'm on Corey Davis all day long. And Jake said, all right, my guys, trust me on this one. Let us know. Wait, you're not starting Julian Edelman?
No, I would not start Julian Edelman either. So my thing with Julian Edelman is I think that he can be a player that you start eventually, but just because we still don't Cam Newton can put up some points. He can. He can, and his wide receivers can also at times, but he's not going to do it consistently. And he's still getting used to the offense. The offense is going to be more tailored around his running abilities until he's more comfortable throwing the ball within that system. And until he's more comfortable throwing the ball within that system, Julian Edelman is not going to get nearly enough targets to make him probably anything more than a flex option. Mm-hmm. And that's in deeper leagues too. I'm just not a big fan of any Patriots wide receivers at this point.
I like this one, and there's 2 questions that I like. One comes from Apex, and the other one comes from Peter Allen. So, Peter, give me 2 seconds. We'll get to your start. I think you already know the answer to it. But Apex says Mike Evans or Adam Thielen, right? Adam Thielen. We're not starting Mike Evans this week. We're just not doing it. I'm sorry, guys. If you're coming to me for fantasy advice, I am not starting Mike Evans this week. I'm starting Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen in a PPR league, he put up 6 receptions last week, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, got you 31 points. Now he's playing an Indy defense that's let
torched.
Minshew put up. Yeah, just let him just take them to the woodshed, right? So I'm starting Adam Thielen again. I don't trust Mike Evans. He's still hurt. He has a hamstring injury. I don't care what Bruce Arians says about we got to get him the ball early and often. Well, yeah, no shit. Like, he's your best wide receiver. Of course you do, right? But he's hurt, okay? So I don't like him. I don't care if he's starting. I don't like Mike Evans this week. I really don't. I'm going to say it until I get burned. So
my thing with this is like, where did you draft that you got both of them? Like you had to be it's like a 12-team league where you were in like 11th or 12th and somehow you got both, or maybe you were at like 7th. I don't know. Like, how did you end up with both of them? And if you do have both of them, why are you picking between them? Why are you not just playing both of? I would play both of them and sit somebody else. But I'm with you. I think in this specific scenario, Adam Thielen he's the go-to. There's no other way about it, especially playing against a bad defense.
Peter Allen says, can only start 2 wide receiver and flex. Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson, Corey Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, or DeAndre Swift.
Corey Davis and Emmanuel Sanders.
It's very interesting.
Immediately. I would go with them immediately. Corey Davis and Emmanuel Sanders.
Yep. And the reason why is because Mike Thomas is out, and Emmanuel Sanders is going to be the number 1 right there and New Orleans. Drew Brees is going to be looking at him early in offense. And y'all are right. The Corey Davis train is real right now. He is not rostered in a lot of leagues. He's only rostered in about 33% of leagues on ESPN Fantasy. If you got him, or if you can get him, go pick him up, dude. He's going to blow up. I promise you. And you heard it here on the Buffalo Fanatics Network. I promise you did. John Brown or Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson. He's the second. He's the number 2 in Pittsburgh.
I was going to say Steelers, right? John Brown. I like John Brown on that one. Apex says it's a dynasty league. That makes sense. He probably picked him up.
So I like Deontay Johnson in that one this week. Not every week. Most weeks I'll go John Brown. I think this week I like Deontay Johnson because I think with the Denver defense, so Denver has they have a good defense, but without them having AJ Bouye, they don't have the corners to cover multiple good wide receivers. So I think the focal point for them is going to be Juju, and I think Juju's still able to put up points against them. But with that being said, if the focal point's Juju, I like Deontay Johnson in one-on-one matchups. So I like him. He got targets last week too.
So one thing that everybody has to be careful with, right, and things that we forget in a fantasy league is that there's only one football. And we've talked about how if you have players that are playing for the Steelers on your fantasy team, that they seem to be a must draft over a lot of other people just because of the defense, right? But I would be careful, right? Because if we expect Pittsburgh to be running the ball really heavy with Benny Snell or James Conner and then throwing the ball to Juju, right, something's got to give. Either the Steelers are going to put up a massive amount of points and just focus on running, and all of a sudden we're going to lose some points in the passing game. So we got to pay attention with that.
I guess I'm just high on wide receiver offense.
I like Big Ben coming back. I really do. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm so high on him until they do it consistently. And I think everybody's like that because it was only week 1. Let's see, Julio, A-Rob, or Corey Davis. Kareem Hunt got the flex and picked up a solid number for me. Yeah, you did, Robert.
Why are we questioning Julio? That's my big question. Why are we questioning Julio?
Well, I don't even know how many points he got last week. I can look it up real quick. Y'all have how many people are y'all playing in these leagues? Because y'all got some really, really good players on your team. Let's look up Julio Jones. Dude, he got you 24 points. He had 157 yards, 9 receptions. I'm going Julio again. Obviously, he's still Matt Ryan's top number.
See, I don't care who they're playing. I don't care who Atlanta's playing. You have Julio. You can make arguments that he is the best receiver in the NFL. Whether he gets you a touchdown or whether he gets you 10 catches for 100 yards, he's getting you points. It doesn't matter what defense he goes up against. Maybe 1 week a year he has a dud game, but every single other week he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy points at the least probably. He'd start him every single day. I think the interesting one is Allen Robinson this week because everything that happened where he was saying I don't want to be in Chicago and everything that went down there. Who really wants to be there? I actually think that they're going to force feed him the ball this week to try and just keep him happy. Yeah. I think that they try and force feed him the ball. So if you're playing in a PPR league, I would have no problem starting Allen Robinson, but never sit Julio.
Here's mine. I'm going to go Julio, Corey Davis, Allen Robinson. It looks like you're going Julio, Allen Robinson, Corey Davis. So
yeah, just this week.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of those. I really don't. Rico, you've put up your lineup. I can't put it up on the screen. I don't think we have access to that. I'm clicking it, and all it does is highlight it. We need to talk to Judge Mathis. He doesn't give us any access to anything. We're just talking faces. It's upsetting. Saquon Barkley, Marvin Jones for Kenyon Drake, and Amari Cooper. Let's talk trades. We need to talk trades on here at all. It's always been like, who you starting, who you start. Let's talk some trades. Saquon Barkley, Marvin Jones for Kenyon Drake, Amari Cooper. So what it looks like you have is a number 1 running back, right, and a number 2 wide receiver, right? And they're giving you a number 1 running back, right? Let it be a number 1, 1B running back, right? And a number 1 wide receiver. Okay. I like Saquon Barkley. I like him over Kenyon Drake, right? And honestly, I like Marvin Jones over Amari Cooper right now because you've got a lot of injury. You make the face, right? But Detroit is taking some hits in their passing game right now. So Marvin Jones is number 1 wide receiver right now, right? If you're talking trades, you're not making a trade based on what's going on immediately. You need to think about the entire season. Yeah, sure. You're thinking
so. If you're talking this trade, I would. In this scenario, I would want Kenyon Drake and Amari Cooper over Saquon Barkley and Marvin Jones. Yes, because I think long term, I like the Cardinals' offense. We saw what Kenyon Drake can do in the Cardinals' offense last year. No, I like Kyler Murray. I'm a fan of Kyler Murray. We're not going back to that. But Kenyon Drake can put up points. Amari Cooper can put up points. Who's more likely in this scenario to have more bad games than good games out of everyone? Marvin Jones.
Sure.
So I think the upside of if you're getting Saquon Barkley and Marvin Jones, there's upside, but I think there's more consistency if you have Kenyon Drake and Amari Cooper.
I'm not giving up Saquon Barkley.
I understand that's tough to do. I don't like I don't like the Giants' offense this year. Like their offensive line is terrible.
I get it. And a lot of people are seeing Saquon's points last week. He only put up 6 points, and they're like, "Oh, let's get rid of him quickly." No, don't do that. He's still going to be the focal point. In fact, I see this week I've got the Giants winning minus or plus 6 or 5.5. I've got them winning. Sure, their offensive line was bad. I'm sure the offense has ways to go, but I think Joe Judge is a good coach. And now we're getting into the Giants talks, right? Don't make me support the Giants, but I really honestly like Joe Judge as a coach. I think the players are playing hard for him. I think Daniel Jones is progressing in the right direction. He still has a couple years to go, and that's fine, right? But you have Saquon Barkley, and I don't like giving up Saquon Barkley. He's one of those players that you draft number 1 overall, right? Of course, Christian McCaffrey is up there. But after Christian McCaffrey, who are you going for? You're going for a really good running back, and that's Saquon Barkley, right? I don't like giving him away, but if you must, it's not a bad trade.
I think the upside on this trade, if you're getting Kenyon Drake and Amari Cooper, is so good because of what those offenses can do versus what the Giants offense can do and what the Lions offense can do and where their positions are within that offense. Like Saquon Barkley, like you said, he's going to be the focal point. He's going to eventually get it figured out. But who has more? If you're looking for an upside, who has more upside on these trades to be consistent? Not just have a big game here and there, but to be consistent.
So we're split. Let's go ahead and vote. I vote no. You vote.
I vote make the trade. And I'm not normally in on trading Saquon Barkley. I'm not. But in this scenario, I think the return is good enough where it's worth it.
We're split. You'll have to let us know if you made the trade or not, and then keep us up there. There's 2 questions that I really like because we're starting to run. Oh, what? Who did that? All right, we got 4 minutes. There's 2 questions that I really like. It was JK saying, "Is Fournette worth the start?" Oh, Steve, can we continue the show?
What are we doing?
Come on, Steve. So JK
says, kick us out early.
He says, is Fournette worth a start? I don't think so. I think Ronald Jones II is going to get the start. Well, of course he's going to get the start. He was in the offense about 50% of the time, 50% of the snaps. He is going to run all over that Carolina defense, just like Josh Jacobs did. I think he's going to be the guy that you want to start. Okay, and then Jake, I'm so sorry I can't pronounce your last name, but Jake M says Dallas Goddard is a dope waiver pickup if available in your league. I agree, but I don't agree that you start him this week, right? For a tight end number 2, he put up 24 points for you last week. He got 101 yards and 1 touchdown, which is awesome. But this week he's going against a very tough Rams defense, and I think he's going to be used more in the blocking than in the receiving this week, all because that defensive line is going up against a very, very poor Philly offensive line. So I don't see Dallas doing really good this week, but yes, I agree. He's a dope pickup on the waiver wire.
Yeah, and I think he's a similar guy like Marvin Jones, where you're going to get some really good weeks out of him, but most often you're going to have like average to below average production. So I think he's a great waiver pickup, but he's not a consistent start.
Yeah, he's not. He's almost like a Knox, right? I could see Knox, Dawson Knox busting out for the 24 points randomly, and then the next game getting like 1, right? I can see it happening. Yeah. Right. But that's what Philly drafted Dallas to do. They drafted him to go out and be that guy. Right. But I don't trust him this week. Don't trust Dallas. All right, guys, we got about 4 minutes left, 2 minutes left. We've already used everything. I guess we'll say our goodbye. Stay tuned because Tilt Money and Steve Mathis are jumping on here next. And as always, I need y'all to go and you need to listen to Nat Knows Bills. His podcast comes out every Saturday, right? So it was yesterday. You did week 2 bold predictions this week, right?
Yes. So, and every single week I will be reading and reacting to the fans' bold predictions. So I will put out a tweet. So pay attention. Follow me on Twitter, and then pay attention for that tweet. It'll probably go out like Sunday night, maybe Monday, and then reply to that tweet. And if it's bold or if it's just an interesting prediction, it'll get read on the show.
And then, of course, every Sunday, Fantasy will always be my number 1 pick in fantasy. Oh, thank you so much, Steve.
Steve, that hurts me. We're going to have to change that. By the end of the season, I'm changing that.
Every Sunday, my podcast comes out with Manny. It's Buff City. In fact, it's out today. Go ahead and listen to it. Listen to it before the game. We've got week 2 fantasy stardom and sit-em for the first half. And then around the 25-minute mark, we jump into our week 3 predictions by the spread. If you want to know what our predictions were by the spread, you can check us out on Instagram, Read 'em and Weep, or you can check me out on Twitter, Read 'em and Weep 3. I've got the spreads up there. I've got a pick of it, of who we're taking, or you can go back a week and listen to week 2 picks by the spreads. But as always, man, we appreciate you, and that is our time. So we're going to go ahead and get off here, guys. We appreciate y'all. Tune in to the Judge Mathis and Tilt Money, the Bills guys. Take it over next.
Go Bills.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is the Bills guys bringing you the Buffalo Fanatics tailgate. We are 1.5 hours until kickoff. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Dave Tilton. You can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. And Dave, I don't know what's going on, but you look like you have like some kind of filter on your camera today. It's working for you. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is either. I don't usually have this.
In an old, like you look like you're in an old-timey Western photograph, but it's lovely. It's making me look bad personally.
I don't know what it is. I didn't do it. It looks a little grainy, honestly. I don't know why. I'm using the same camera. I'm using the same settings. So, hey, whatever works, right? I got my red Bills hoodie on today because I think the Bills D line is going to be seeing red today. So, just mixing it up a little here with the attire. I usually go with the black, but we're going with the red today.
It is. It is 8:02 in the morning here where I am in Phoenix, Arizona, and I just poured my second Absolute, and I've been making these
Bloody Marys for you.
Drinks. No, it's Absolute. It is seltzer water, and it is pineapple mango juice. You know, it's 100. It's 100 degrees out here, so it's a tropical drink. It's a nice little cocktail. I'm on number 2 now. My fiance looked at me like, "What are you doing?" It's 7:45.
It's a chilly 62 in North Carolina today, so it's feeling really nice here. It's sunny.
Speaking of weather, let's lead off there, shall we? Where I got this nice fancy graphic that I made up this morning. Here is the weather in Miami today. The real feel will be over 100 degrees all game. There is really a pretty decent chance, a 50-50 shot of some rain in the 2 p.m. hour. What kind of effect do you think the weather might have today for the Bills playing out there in Miami?
You know, I don't think it's going to have a huge effect, honestly. I mean, Cowherd made it, everyone heard Cowherd earlier this week talk about how it's going to be like, cold weather Bills aren't going to be ready for the hot weather Miami. But it's like, dude, we've been practicing outdoors in like 80, 90 degree weather like all camp. So it's not like it's been like chilly in Buffalo during the summer. Like it's been pretty hot there. So the Bills are going to be fine with this weather. It's early in the season. Like I'm not really worried about it. I mean, the only one thing you might worry about potentially, and we've seen this happen in games in Miami before, is if there is thunderstorms, there's the worry of them stopping the game, taking everyone off the field, then coming back out. So you always kind of worry a little bit about that kind of like stop and restart. So hopefully there's no delays. That would be the only thing that might throw kind of like a wrinkle. But again, I'm sure McDermott's kind of prepared for that situation as well, given the forecast. So not too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, all these people are sitting here talking about how the weather is going to be a huge factor and Buffalo in the cold. It's like, I don't know. If you looked at the states that half our players are from, my guess is they're mostly like southern states. I mean, most of the players in Buffalo, I think, were born in Florida. And if you look at the running back tandem, Zach Moss, Miami born and raised, he was going to the U just like his cousins Sonoris and Santana Moss. He ended up going to the University of Utah because of all the trouble in that program. Devin Singletary, FAU guys. I'm not even the least bit concerned about the weather today. And I brought up those two guys for a specific reason. Do you think that you see the Buffalo Bills put an emphasis on running the football today? Yeah,
I do. I really do. And it gets back to a little bit of what we talked about in our preview on Thursday, is that I like to see the Bills this year do a little bit more of attacking the opponent's weakness on defense, right, from an offensive standpoint. Because last year, I guess, you could do that a little bit, but now Josh Allen in his third year, more command of the offense, more of a leader on the field. Not that he hasn't been, but the Miami struggled against the run last week facing New England. So why not unleash Moss and Singletary this week, especially because they're ready to get after it based on the stat lines they put up against the Jets, right? Like, yeah, Moss got a touchdown receiving. Singletary was involved in the passing game a little bit too, but they want to pound it this week. Both of them are going to try to like feed off each other, run the ball. It is the weakness of Miami's defense, at least through one game, and based on personnel, we believe that to be true. So I do expect the Bills to be a little bit more balanced today than they were last week. I don't expect that Josh is going to throw the ball 45, 46 times again today.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because it's like, well, I don't want the Bills to take a step backwards. I want the Bills to be modern. Well, you could still throw the ball 35 times, take
35 times, yeah,
and still be a relatively modern offense. I think that it's still going to be about controlling the pace of the game. But if you think about it, the Bills didn't really average very high of a yard per catch in that Jets game. It was very much a dink and dunk offense. You didn't see Josh Allen taking a lot of shots down the field. I mean, he did throw a lot in the intermediate, but those deep balls were kind of lacking. I think you're going to see a lot more 11 personnel today. I think you're going to see a lot more traditional 12 personnel today. And I think you're going to see an emphasis on the run game for a number of reasons. First of all, Landon Roberts is out, so he's not playing today. So they are very thin at middle linebacker. So running the ball up the heart of that defense with guys like Moss and Singletary, taking advantage of that. Van Noy and Lawson on the edge, trying to take advantage of Van Noy is coming off the injury. Shaq Lawson is kind of new to that multiple scheme. He's not new to the 34. He played it under Rex Ryan. He's not new to the 4-3. He played it in Buffalo, but he's new to sort of all the changing and the versatility of that. Plus, Miami plays man-to-man defense. So there's going to be a lot of corners and players in the secondary turning their backs to the running game. So I think it would just fit the Bills. And Brian Daboll is that kind of guy who wants to be multiple in his offenses, and he wants to attack the opponent's weakness. Well, the weakness this week is the run game. New England ran all over him, and Buffalo has to run all over them too if they want to continue to have comfortable leads in these games. We got a comment here. What does it say?
What does our D have to do to mask the linebacker issue? Obviously, with Edmonds and Milano out, Bills win 34-14 running game today, but Allen still for 202 TDs. So let's talk about maybe the question here. I know we're going to spend a lot of time on this today. And again, Pullout King, thank you for the super chat. That's very much appreciated. We know that you have a lot of options when it comes to consuming Bills media, so we certainly appreciate that. What do we have to do to mask the linebacker issue? I mean, to be honest with you, the D line, and that's why I got the red on today. The D line has got to be the tone setters today. I want to see Ed Oliver. I want to see Harrison Phillips. I want to see Quentin Jefferson. I want to see Vernon Butler back in the mix this week. I want to see that interior of that defensive front getting after it today. Helping as much as they can in that run game, because look, I think it's going to be a test too. I think Miami is going to try to attack us on the ground. I think between Breida, Howard, Gaskins, it's a good trio. I wouldn't say it's an elite trio, but Matt Breida scares me a little bit. And Jordan Howard's been kind of an underappreciated running back in the NFL for the last couple of years. So to me, it's the D line will step up. If the D line can really get that push and make sure they're doing their job, it's going to make it a little bit easier to kind of cover up for that lack of our star linebackers, I think. And obviously we made the call-ups today. I know you talked about it earlier, but we got Smith up and we got Lacey up too. So the Bills are kind of shuffling guys in there on that linebacker group. So to me, it starts with the D-line today. If the D-line plays well, that will help a lot.
Yeah. I mean, let's take a look at the depth chart here. You're spot on. It's on the defensive line today. We talk about the offense. The offense is on Josh Allen today because of the style of defense that Miami plays, where they play man-to-man. So Josh has to make those tough throws, lead receivers. We have to have a running game today. Well, the defense, it starts up front today. Jerry Hughes, there's a reason why I have all these names highlighted. A.J. Klein, Tyrell Dotson are going to be your two starting linebackers. The Bills are going to play a lot of nickel, and those are going to be the two linebackers on the field. You'll see a combination of Saran Neal if they want size, Teron Johnson to cover the likes of Jakeem Grant. But Miami was using a lot of Mike Gesicki in the slot, so expect maybe a lot of Saran Neal or Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde up in the box.
Mm-hmm.
But here is where it starts up front, these names that are highlighted. Austin Jackson, the rookie left tackle out of the University of Southern California. He was very much a prospect, an athlete, more than a football player. He was worked over a lot in college, especially by A.J. Epinesa in the Holiday Bowl, but he has a lot of physical upside. He held up well against New England, but guess what? Guess what he gets this week? He gets Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison. These are the two key players in this game, in my opinion. Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison have to make Austin Jackson look like Austin Jackson looked in the Holiday Bowl against A.J. Epinesa, where he gave up those 4 sacks. They need to embarrass this rookie. They need to give this rookie welcome to the NFL 101, and they need to get in Ryan Fitzpatrick's face. That is what will help us force turnovers this game. But then in terms of the running game and making up for the linebackers, which will probably be Klein and Dotson for a majority of the time, maybe a little bit of mixing in at strong side of Matakevich and Smith. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson. It is absolutely optimal and necessary for these guys to set the tone up front. They need to push Ted Karras backwards. I know Eric Flowers and Solomon Kinley are bigger. I know they're bigger, but the Buffalo Bills, you need to use their athleticism with Quentin Jefferson and Oliver to swim around that and get into the backfield and make the running backs and the quarterback's life a living hell. If the defensive line can play up to their capabilities, because they are far better than this offensive line. Last week, Miami's offensive line got credit. They didn't embarrass themselves against the New England Patriots. Well, we need to embarrass this offensive line this week, and they have the talent to be embarrassed. They don't have high-end talent. So we really need to take advantage. We really need to take advantage of them up front. So you were spot on in your assessment.
And
those guys right there are key to saving our linebackers' asses today.
Agree. And people that watch us regularly know I'm not like the biggest AJ Klein fan. Wasn't really like a huge fan of that signing. But one thing I will say is going to be an advantage, or at least not kill us today with those linebackers, is AJ Klein's experience in getting guys in the right position. Although he's not manning the middle, or we don't think he will be. Agree with Ryan here. Having him on the field from a familiarity and a leadership perspective to help Dodson and help Smith and Matakevich or whatever, that will be a benefit. So although he has his limitations physically, I think he will be, he'll be able to step into a little bit of that leadership role that Edmonds is leaving behind. So
yeah.
Charles says, need to put pressure on Fitz, make him uncomfortable in the pocket. That's what you just said, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't have this. We can't have, to the extent that we did last week, we were getting very close to getting to Darnold multiple times. I know we had 3 sacks on him, but man, we were getting close to him. You got to take Fitz down this week. You got to make him, you got to hit him while he's throwing. You got to hit him. You got to sack him, make him make those classic Fitz mistakes. And I agree with Charles here. You got to get that pressure on him. And Hughes and Addison, like you said, are going to be the keys there.
Yeah. And I'm going to give Joe Marino from the Locked On Bills podcast all the credit for digging up this statistic. But he says that Ryan Fitzpatrick is not comfortable throwing to his left. I think he threw to his left 3 times last game. Like, he literally threw to the left side of the football field 3 times, like outside of the, outside the sticks, outside to the left. So he very much hones in on one side of the football field, reads one side of the football field. So the combination of Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, and Quentin Jefferson on the right side of that offensive line, running stunts and getting in Ryan Fitzpatrick's face and making his life a living hell trying to view and throw the football to the right side of the football field is huge. And we talk about these linebackers, right? These linebackers are going to probably get worn down and exposed as drives progress. So what's the easiest way to kill a drive? Putting them down in distance so you can bring out your nickel and dime packages and forcing turnovers. Those are the 2 ways. Those are the 2 ways to kill drives. Force turnovers, down in distance, 3 and outs, get the offense on the field, score some early points, just crush the will of your opponent. That's what the Buffalo Bills need to do in this game. If they let Miami hang in there, if this defensive line gets pushed around a little bit, if we can't create pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick, then it's going to be 100% on the offense, because chances are we could be getting into a shootout. But that's just how important Matt Milano and Trey Edmonds are to this defense.
Well, and the other thing here about this is that the Bills, from a turnovers perspective, they had the 1 interception right last week on Darnold on that incredible play by Milano, might I add. So he's not there this week. Turnovers to me are like a sort of I wouldn't call them an under the radar storyline in this game, but maybe it's something we really need to put more emphasis on, right? Like Fitzpatrick, we know in his career has been turnover prone. This to me is big. Like, if we can win the turnover battle today, that's really going to help out, right? Because we obviously turned the ball over, twice last week with the 2 fumbles from Allen. We need to win the turnover battle today. Like that to me is a critical element of the game today. Our execution needs to be crisp on offense to avoid giving the ball up, and we need to force, I think, 2 turnovers today. And like, what a better chance to do it than, like we were saying, rush the passer, hit Fitz, make him get uncomfortable. He's not He's not immune to fumbling either, by the way. And I do think with our zone, because we're going to play zone versus their man, our zone should allow us to at least keep an eye on Fitz. We know he can scramble a bit too if he gets under pressure. So we need to be able to be ready for that too, because Fitz, like for all of his flaws, he's a pretty good scrambler. And so we've seen that firsthand as a Bill, and we've seen it firsthand as him playing on other teams. He can make things happen with his legs too. So we got to be ready for that when we do get pressure on him.
And that's the thing too. So New England's defense last week played man-to-man, right? So they're pressing these wide receivers right at the line of scrimmage. So the second Devontae Parker and
Preston
Williams, thank you. I'm losing my mind today. The second that they sort of started to try to run their routes, the corners were jamming them. So that bought time for their defensive line to go and try to force turnovers and get sacks and all that stuff. Buffalo does not run that type of defense, and I can't picture Sean McDermott changing his game plan this week for that. What I'm envisioning here is Fitzpatrick, if he gets time to throw against these zone defenses, he can pick zone defenses apart. That's why it's really important to get pressure on Ryan Fitzpatrick. And somebody asked here, do we know if Parker is playing today? We're going to get the final answer to that question in about 20 minutes. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to pull up the injury reports for both teams, and I'm going to go over the injury reports. And Dave, while I do that, can you set up for our special guest here?
Absolutely.
The background and get Mitch turned in
here. I got you.
Yep. So let's go over the Buffalo Bills injury report real quick. We've got John Brown, Vernon Butler, Tyrell Dodson, Jerry Hughes, Isaiah McKenzie. They were all limited in practice this week, but then they were full by Friday, and they're going to play. These are just the normal, scrapes and bruises you get during a National Football League season that professionals play through. So I wouldn't be too worried about these guys. The guys that that obviously are out this week for the Buffalo Bills and are huge. Tremaine Edmonds is out. Matt Milano is out. The one that really shocked me was Delshon Phillips. It didn't shock me that he's out. It shocked me that they didn't put him on injured reserve. Really a little bit shocked that the Buffalo Bills aren't saving a roster or weren't preserving a roster spot by putting him in IR for 3 weeks, letting his quad injury get better, and then bringing him back in 3 weeks or putting him on the practice squad. A little shocking that they're trying to protect Delshon Phillips like that, but it is what it is. And then over here, they mentioned Devontae Parker, Miami. They're likely going to be without their backup safety and special teamer, Clayton Fajetalum. He's doubtful. Jakeem Grant, Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, all going to play. Kyle Van Noy going to play. Preston Williams going to play. It's likely that Xavier Howard will be on a pitch count. He played 44% of the snaps last week. It'll likely move up into the 60 range this week. Noah Igbenegine kicks outside when he is playing or when he comes off the field. And then the big question for Miami this week, Orlando Roberts is out, which is a big injury. It helps us in the run game. And Devontae Parker, questionable. So we don't know if Devontae Parker is going to play this week or not. We're going to get into that Devontae Parker injury in a moment, but we are joined by a special guest this week. Dave, you want to introduce our special guest?
Yeah, we're really happy to have Mitch Broder from our blog on this week to join us in the pregame. Mitch has been killing it with the written content all throughout the summer, too, during the dog days. He's been putting out his Thursday Thought and doing a lot of nice work in recapping and writing about the Bills Sim League we had this year on Madden, Bills won the Super Bowl in that. So, Mitch, it's really great to have you on to talk a little pregame for the Bills. Hope you're excited to join us today, and you're killing it, man. So welcome.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
What are your thoughts on the injury report for Miami? Do you think Devontae Parker is going to be a factor in this game? Do you think he's even going to suit up and dress?
I mean, we'll see these. We know these hamstring injuries usually linger. So. Ultimately, though, he's going to be going against Trey White all day, which you want to think that Tre'Davious White can, ultimately kind of lock him down and force Fitz to go other ways with the football. But, I would say it's probably 50-50 if he plays because, like I said, these hamstring injuries are really tough to gauge.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with you. I know that he was suffering through this hamstring injury all through training camp. Thank you. I'm not straight for the super chat. I appreciate it. I think somebody just wanted me to say that on air, but hey, whatever. You got what you wanted, and we got your $2, so we're okay with it.
Oh man.
So it's the life of live video. He was suffering through a hamstring injury all of training camp, and then they brought him out on the football field week 1, and he didn't even make it a half. And you see the Buffalo Bills are super cautious with these soft tissue injuries. And yet Miami seems to be rushing Devontae Parker on the field. Dave, I think that this has a lot to say about the other skill position players in Miami. Preston Williams coming off that ACL is also not much of a separator. Jakeem Grant is, I think, struggling as a wide receiver despite the fact that he's a deadly weapon with his speed. No Albert Wilson, no Allen Hurns because they opted out. There is a lack of skill position talent, specifically skill position talent that can separate on this Miami team. Do you think Devontae Parker is going to be anything more than a decoy if he plays?
I think he'll be a little more than decoy. Let's not forget they also just traded for Lynn Bowden Jr. right before the season started, and he's not up to speed yet either. I will be very curious to see if he's active and up for this game. If Devontae Parker sits, I could see them maybe trying to throw Lynn into the mix today and forcing him in, for a couple plays, specific things they've drawn up for him. But here's the thing with the hamstring, like Mitch was saying, like this is one of those, we saw it with Adam Thielen last year, right? He comes back a little too early. A guy plays 1 play, 2 plays in the game, and he's done. And it's aggravated and it's a setback, right? So now instead of maybe missing like 1 or 2 games, you're missing 4, 5, 6. And what was really curious to me was how Brian Flores talked about how they weren't concerned with the history of Devontae Parker's soft tissue injuries because it's not the first time he's had this. And so that to me sounds like it's a little bit forced, and they're going to try to put him in. Look, at the end of the day, a 50-60% Devontae Parker, like you said, is probably still better than the alternatives that Miami has. So I can kind of understand it from their standpoint. But if this was like middle of the season, later in the season, when guys like Lynn Bowden were maybe more up to speed, Preston Williams a little more further removed from his last season injury, maybe Jakeem Grant, is kind of like
found his niche.
found his niche. Then maybe, right? But I also think Miami's trying to, show that they've like taken a step in the offseason, and they're, they want to come out and show that they can play with the Bills and that they're not to be taken lightly. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I would expect Parker to be active. I mean, I'll probably be proven wrong here in about 6 minutes, but I would expect him to be active just based on sort of what they did last week. If they weren't going to sit him down last week and they've now put him out in practice and they did not put him on the short, on the IR, which he only missed 3 games now, why would you not dress him, right, if you're Miami? So we'll see in a few minutes.
All right. While we are waiting on that inactive list, and trust me, when we get that inactive list, we're going to have a conversation about it. My hot take is we're going to see Lee Smith this week. Mitch, you posted your Thursday thought on thebuffalofanatics.com this week on Thursday. Talk about some of your thoughts on the Thursday thought and some takes that you shared in your piece this week.
So my piece was, maybe a little blunt with the title, but it was just run the damn football. And I think what we saw, from last week, what we saw from last week, the Dolphins got ran all over by that New England offense. And, the key point from my piece was that, the Patriots passing attack doesn't really, bring much to the table. All they have really at, receivers, Edelman and James White out of the backfield, and yet they couldn't seem to stop anything the Patriots were doing in the run game. So especially for the Bills last week, after they kind of struggled running the ball with Moss and Motor, is that this could be a good week to get that running game back on track against a defense that's shown that, they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, Dave. Do you think we're going to see a transition to the run game this week?
Yeah, and like I said Thursday, I would like to see a little bit more traditional run formations. I would like to see Allen under center. I'd like to see Motor and Moss getting ahead of steam as they get that rock from Allen coming up towards the line of scrimmage. Zone read, to me, I wasn't really feeling the run game out of that last week. The mesh point was an issue, I felt, and obviously that's something they'll work on. But, that mesh point isn't exactly crisp where you need it to be on those zone reads. The running backs have no momentum, right? And especially against that good Jets defensive front, there was just no momentum for those backs. So I'd like to see the Bills run out of a little bit more traditional formation this week with Allen under center, let those guys get ahead of steam, mix them in and out. And I think they can be successful doing that. So to Mitch's point, yeah, run the damn ball. And like, why not? Like, it's a great point Mitch made about how what threats really do New England have in the passing game? Not as many as the Bills do, certainly. And they were still able to run the ball that effectively. So why can't the Bills, right? Like, I don't necessarily think New England's offensive line is better than Buffalo's. It's, I would say they're comparable. You could argue either way, but again, running the ball effectively today, not letting Fitzpatrick kind of get more and more chances to kind of go at our zone defense. That to me is the story of the game today. And that's why I think the score may be a little closer. And I think some of the people in the comment section are agreeing there that this could be a little bit closer on the scoreboard, but the Bills need to get that running game going today. No doubt about it.
Yeah, our guy Bills guys and says hot take Allen throws 300 yards again. I'm struggling with this one, right? I really am, because part of me thinks that we're going to see one of those Josh Allen like 250 yards in the air, closing in on 100 yards on the ground type of day. And here's why I think you're going to see that non-traditional 300-yard game from Josh Allen. Miami, Brian Flores, that scheme, Josh Boyer, that scheme is very much a New England scheme. It's multiple. They run some 43, they run some 34, and it's heavy man-to-man defense. Now, Stephon Diggs is lined up against Byron Jones, and it's going to be John Brown lined up against a combination of Noah Igbinoghene and Xavier Howard. Some very good corners. Cole Beasley against Igbinoghene in the slot. Very, very good corners. They got Eric Rowe sort of playing that hybrid role in the safety, trying to make plays. So it's a tough secondary, right? And what the Buffalo Bills have an ability to do, they haven't had in the past, is pretty much both of their receivers on the outside have the ability to separate. But if you want to separate, it takes time to separate. So you need to run the football, probably out of those traditional sets that we're talking about, the 11 personnel, the 12 personnel, bringing in the tight ends onto the field, using Dawson Knox as a fullback, all those things. And then you need to utilize the play action. Give your receivers a chance to separate before you throw them the football. I think that's going to mean more yards per catch today, but probably less targets. So you got to be successful on those deep shots and those shots down the field, those playmaking plays. If you do so, you'll get into that 240, 250-yard range. And then also in man-to-man defense, the corners are turning their back to the line of scrimmage. That plays to Josh Allen's advantage. He can run the football. Not those like design quarterback runs, but sort of those freestyles where he sort of like holds up, waits a second, reads the defense, and then runs. Those are the kind of runs he can have success with today, because corners and safeties will be turning their backs to the defense. So I think he will have 300 yards today. I just don't know if he's going to do it in the traditional sense.
Yeah, and I think we've seen him have success against Miami, improvising and running the ball. I mentioned it on Thursday. His longest career touchdown rushes against Miami. He's had some of his best rushing games against Miami. Obviously, with Flores last year, their defense didn't have the personnel it does this year, but the scheme's the same, right? It's still that man coverage scheme where once the backs of the defensive backs get turned away, there should be some opportunity for him. And when you say non-traditional, I assume you're meaning like he could come up with something like 230 passing yards and 70 rushing yards, something to that extent. Mitch, I want to get your thoughts on this. How important is play action going to be today? Because Steve mentioned it, and I think that the efficiency of the passing game is going to be what sort of stands out today. So how important do you think that is? And like, again, going back to the theme of that running game, are the Bills still going to be able to use the play action if for whatever reason they do struggle on the ground?
I mean, I think that ultimately we saw it last week. I mean, they did struggle on the ground, and yet Allen was still, really effective, when using the play action. So I think that, we'll still definitely use it. And I think that, something to take into account, is with this Bills offense, Brian Dable is a week by week kind of a guy, a matchup, game planner rather than just kind of sticking to a system. So, as we've talked about with how poor this Miami run defense looked week one, I think that we could definitely be seeing a lot of play action, a lot of heavy sets. I know, Steve said earlier, his hot take is Lee Smith's going to be inactive, but I actually think, if anything, this could be a week we see a lot of Lee Smith.
Well, hold that thought. He's inactive.
Oh, he is inactive. Okay.
Yeah, that list just came out.
How about that?
I'm updating the banner right now, people. Don't you worry.
All right. So while Steve's updating that, I'll go ahead and just read it out. The inactives today for the Bills are Jake Fromm, TJ Yeldon, Delshon Phillips, Tremaine Edmonds, and Milano, Ike Bucker, and Lee Smith. So I guess the big news there is that AJ Epinesa is up for this game. And obviously Vernon Butler is up for this game. So you see that flip-flop. The difference between last week and this week, obviously, is that you've got Milano and Edmonds out. Now Epinesa and Butler are up for this game. So very quick knee-jerk reaction, Mitch, while Steve's updating the banner. What do you think about this inactive list today?
Interesting that Epinesa's active. I know last week he was inactive, but really heavy on the D-line, which probably goes to the point, that you guys were talking about earlier with getting pressure on Fitzpatrick. I mean, I think that shows there's a clear emphasis to really get some penetration of the backfield and try to muddy things up. So that's my knee-jerk reaction from looking at that inactive list.
I also think that for me, I like that Epinesa's up, especially because to me, the key for today, if you're the Bills, is obviously slowing down that run early downs. And I think he can be an asset there. He may even be able to give you a little pass rush pop on passing downs if you take Trent Murphy off the field. So honestly, but Trent Murphy played pretty good last week. So you could have a nice 4-man rush rotation there. You have Addison and Hughes on one side with Epinesa and Murphy on the other. Gets back to Steve's theme of getting to Fitzpatrick. So I like that Epinesa's up for this game. And obviously Butler being back too is big. So Steve, thoughts from you? I mean, you were kind of thinking Lee Smith was going to be active today, but he's not.
Yeah.
So
And that's the next conversation to have. So you talked about we've talked about how we want to get into these more traditional formations today. 11 personnel, 12 personnel. We can still do that with Croft and Knox. And then on the goal line, a guy like Tyan Secchi can come in and play that Lee Smith role on the goal line. So I wouldn't sort of count out seeing more traditional stats from the Bills today. 11 personnel, 12 personnel, sort of a little bit like we saw last year. I wouldn't count that out. However, it will be really interesting to see if the offense we saw from the Buffalo Bills last week is our offense now, right? It's like Brian Dable's like, okay, this is our offense now. We are 4 wide receiver. We are 3 wide receiver. We are spread. We are veer and shoot, those Dino Babers concepts from the University of Syracuse. And in that case, last week you could chalk up the lack of a running game to the fact that the offensive line is still getting used to a new scheme. And it's going to take time for the offense to learn how to block in that new scheme. So maybe the offensive line got better at blocking after having doing it one more time. Maybe it's going to take a few more weeks of struggles in order to get used to it. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Buffalo Bills saw the struggles against the run game last week, saw the struggles and said, okay, more 11 and 12 personnel, what we did last year. Or they say, okay, offensive line, this is our offense now. Get with the program. It's going to be really interesting over the course of this game to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And while we're kind of going through this, I was checking out the Dolphins inactive list, and it looks like Parker is active from what I'm seeing on Twitter. So I'm trying to find the full list, but obviously that was the big one. I don't think
which is pretty big for them. I know he's a rookie, but he's pretty good he's a pretty good, decent run defender.
Yeah. So
I'll take the banner too. You two take over. I'll take the banner again.
Fortunately, my assumption or prediction from about 10 minutes ago came true. Parker is active, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. I do think that it gets back to the fact that they just don't have the bodies, right? They don't have guys that are ready. Bowden's clearly not ready. I don't know if he's active. I assume he's inactive.
And Bowden is active. Malcolm Perry is inactive.
Okay, so maybe they will throw in a couple special plays for Bowden today to try to maybe take the burden off of Parker in some cases. But you can't imagine with limited practices for Parker all week that he's really going to be 100% today. With that said, the Bills typically don't flip. They pretty much stay on the same side of the field with their corners. So it'll be interesting to see how much during the day Preston Williams gets lined up with Trey versus Parker. I would imagine if you're the Dolphins, you look at this and you say, well, let's put Parker on the side of the field with Trey White if he's less than 100%, and let's see what Preston Williams can do against Levi Wallace. If I'm the Dolphins, that's what I'd be doing. because Preston Williams is kind of underrated, honestly. I think he's a pretty good receiver. And if he's more healthy than Parker, that's what I would do if I were the Dolphins. So that's something now to look out for now that Parker's active, how the Dolphins line up their receivers. Do they put a less than 100% on Trey, knowing that was probably going to get shut down anyway, and let Preston try to go up against Wallace? I think that's a mismatch in the Dolphins' favor.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Miami Dolphins inactive list, and the 3 things that stick out to me, or the 4 things that stick out to me the most. I should say 3 things, because I'm going to combine 2. Run, 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 and run. Just like Mitch said in his article this week, run the damn football. Jason Strobridge out. He's a depth piece on their defensive line. Landon Roberts is out. He's replaced by Camille Grugier-Hill, who's very much a drop back into zone coverage, smaller Neville Hewitt, like we saw last week, type of linebacker. He's not a run-stuffing, 2-down thumper. He is a smaller linebacker. Okay, so run the football. Roberts is out. Strobridge is out. Grugier-Hill is going to be his replacement. They lost a little bit of depth on the defensive line. Run the football. Number 2, Devontae Parker. I really think he's going to be a decoy this week. I would put Levi Wallace on Devontae Parker. Hot take. I'd put Levi Wallace on Devontae Parker and shut down Preston Williams. Or just not give a dang about who's on what side. Play Trey White on whatever side he's comfortable on, and Levi Wallace on whatever side he's comfortable on, and just not care about who you're playing. And I have another hot take we're going to get to after these 3 hot takes. I just popped my own eye here as we were talking. I don't want to steal too much time. And last but not least, and the thought actually left my head. Where's the inactive list on the bottom here? Again, that Lee Smith being inactive. What are the Bills going to do in the run game? So that's the huge question you got to ask yourself. But any final thoughts on the inactive list, Mitch?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it. I think that, with Lynn Bowden actually being active, you got to wonder how they're going to use him today. I mean, it seemed like that Miami offense really could have used a spark of some sorts last week against New England. So I think that might be something to keep an eye on for sure. But to be honest, though, with the talks as far as, with Preston Brown, Devontae Parker, to be honest, the pass catcher that I'm the most concerned about is going to be Mike Gesicki with the injuries we have at linebacker. That to me is the receiver that I think that could cause the most issues for this Bills defense today. Are we going to see, some line, Tyrell Dodson on him? Is it going to be more Micah Hyde, which we've seen in the past with Gronkowski? So to me, that's more of the receiver that I think could cause some fits for this defense today.
And that's part of my hot take. So we mentioned, we've seen in training camp at some point, like Mike Gesicki, I think last week Miami used Mike Gesicki a lot as their slot receiver. Chan Gailey is not much of a tight end guy. The other 2 tight ends, Durham Smythe and Adam Sheehan, are very much the extra offensive linemen. They're blockers because they do like to use power run to establish their spread. But Mike Gesicki sort of doesn't mesh with Chan Gailey. But what they did with him last week was he was a big slot. He was checked out at wide receiver most of the time in the slot. So if he's their best receiver this week because Devontae Parker ain't healthy, I'm not saying the Buffalo Bills start the game this week. I think the Bills give Devontae Parker the respect he deserves early and sees what he's got and puts Trey White on him early. But if they realize quickly and early in this game that Devontae Parker don't have that next gear, that next level, he's playing at 50, 60, 70%, he's a decoy. I speculated in the first hour, maybe Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer their focus is on Mike Gesicki, or Saran Neal's focus is on Mike Gesicki. They use the bigger nickel this week. So some type of safety or cornerback safety on them. But we saw a couple times in training camp this year, Trey White covering slot receivers like Gabe Davis. Could we see Trey White in the slot trying to shut down Mike Gesicki and Cam Lewis and Levi Wallace on these boundary receivers? Could that be something we see this week? Dave, do you think that's completely out of the realm of possibility?
Completely out of the realm of possibility? No. But
what percentage would you put on it? I've seen a couple Cam Lewis comments, and I want some Cam Lewis takes here.
25%, maybe.
That's higher than I thought you'd predict. But
look, I mean, I think it gets back to what you were saying. If it depends on the health of Parker, right? If Parker's out there and he's looking good, then no, you're not going to do that. If Parker's out there and he's hobbling a bit, and Levi Wallace, let's say, is doing good job on, let's say Levi Wallace is doing a good job on Williams or Parker, whoever it ends up on him early in the game, then maybe you could see the Bills make an in-game adjustment to doing that. Will they come out of the gate doing it? No, I don't think. But an in-game adjustment, I would say, is not out of the realm of possibility, maybe 20%. Because like you said, we did see it in camp a little bit. But I also feel like, that's not that it's not Trey's game, because he's a great player, but I just feel like he's more comfortable on the outside. We saw him; he actually got beat a few times on some of those videos. So I'd leave him out there, and I would probably use like Poyer or Hyde if you're going to try to help there over the middle with Gesicki.
Mitch, what kind of percentages are you giving my take here?
I hate to say it, I might be a little bit lower than Till. I'm thinking maybe like 10 to 15, similar to what
I think you guys are being generous. Honestly, I give it like a 5% chance.
20 still pretty low.
Yeah. But I agree. I just think Trey White for sure. I mean, he's the outside guy, and you even whether Parker's 100% or not, you still have to respect him. Respect his game. So I think that Hyde is likely going to be a guy we'll see probably maybe in the middle. I think we'll see a lot of just variations in the secondary. I wouldn't be surprised if Saran Neal gets in there, maybe even a little Dean Marlowe. I mean, I think there could be a lot of looks and creativity in that slot with the injuries at linebacker. So we'll see what Leslie Frazier dials up, but I think it's going to be a kind of a carousel of different players, all trying to kind of fill that role.
Yeah, we got Chester Roselle with a great comment. He says, White in the slot is for the Tyreek Hills of the world. And that very well might have been why the Bills were utilizing Trey White in training camp in the slot in preparation for those games against teams like Kansas City, where they have those really good receivers that they put in the slot, much like the Buffalo Bills put Stephon Diggs in the slot. So that's a great point there from Chester. But I think you're right on the money there, Mitch. I think more likely the scenario is it's some combination of Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Saran Neal, a bigger body DB, whether it be Neal, who's the big nickel, or it be utilizing one of your safeties. It would be really interesting to see. Again, I'm throwing things at the wall and seeing if they stick, and I'm just trying to play the hypothetical game here because that's what a pregame show is. It's like, let's prepare for every scenario. It'd be really interesting to see because, again, the Bills now with these two linebackers out have to think about switching things up a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to change scheme. But there are little tweaks here and there that they're going to want to make to replace these linebackers. Could we see more Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde as the big nickel if they're more comfortable? And I know they played Saran Neal a ton at corner, boundary, and slot in training camp, and they love Saran Neal. Could Jaquan Johnson get more of a role on defense as a safety if you're utilizing Hyde or Poyer as a nickel player? That's something that maybe we could see today. Dave, do you think there's a chance we could see Jaquan Johnson rolling out onto the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance, but I would say there's probably more of a chance that Marlowe comes in over Johnson just because of what it just seems the Bills trust Marlowe a little bit more right now. But I do like Johnson. I've liked Johnson since we've drafted him, so I'd love to see him get some playing time. I guess with the Bills, if you're going to put Johnson kind of back in center field like that, you're pretty much saying like we're daring Miami to take their deep shots with Fitz, over the likes of Levi Wallace and Trey White. Which, with Trey White, good luck to you, Miami. But with Levi Wallace, like that's probably your one place you go to Miami if you're going to try to take some deep shots. And I mean, Jaquan Johnson is probably serviceable enough along with Dean Marlowe to be able to handle, one side of the field if Miami's kind of going that route. But I would say it's more likely that we see Marlowe than Johnson.
All right. We got a quick comment here that I can't ignore from BFLO Matthew Louise. He said just created a penalty in the locker room. I love that. And then we got another comment. Stalk the Ground 23 says 208 watching on YouTube. 98 likes. Smash it, guys. So here's what I do every time now. I'm a complete shill. I'm a complete sellout.
You're a company man.
I will do anything for likes. If you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this football game today, ladies and gentlemen, if you, in your heart of hearts, and this thing right here in the middle of your chest, underneath that Bills logo, because I know you're all wearing that Bills shirt today, if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this football game today, smash that like button. Smash that like. If you don't, You're putting some bad juju. Some bad
I think I might have created a new nickname here, Jaquanson.
I think it's more Jaquan's son. But all right. All right. So I want to play a little game of over under with you, gentlemen. As we got about
I like this. Okay.
Maybe no, I'm sorry, buy or sell, not over under. I apologize. We'll buy or sell. You and I'll start with Mitch. Buy or sell. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm about 3 or 4 shots of vodka deep. So I do what we do on live television. But
he's loose.
I'm loose.
Take that man's phone away from him during the game today.
Oh no, I'm straight from the Bills guys account. Don't you worry. But buy or sell. The Buffalo Bills have a singular individual 100-yard rusher today. Mitch, start with you.
I'm going to sell because I think that what we saw from last week with the snap counts being so similar with Singletary and Moss, I think that as a team, they'll be, high rushing yards, as in total. But I don't think an individual player is actually going to get over 100 yards today.
Dave, how about yourself?
Sell, but bold prediction: if it's anyone, it's Josh Allen. 100 on the ground. Nah, but I don't. I agree with Mitch. It's going to be an even split. I do think Singletary might pop a few big ones, but again, that's going to have to. He's going to have to pop like 8 yards a carry if he's getting 12, 13 carries. Same for Moss. So that's a tall order. Josh Allen probably might have the best chance of going 100 rushing of anybody today, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Spin 0481 disagrees with me. He says all 3 are going for 100.
That's a bold take. That's a hot take.
So I'm gonna sell as well. I don't think Josh Allen has the closest chance. I think Devin Singletary has the closest chance. I think if he pops off 3-4 big runs, those 15, 20 yarders, he's halfway there, and then he gets some other carries to hammer it home. Again, it's all depending on. We talked about it. How are the Bills going to run the football? Are they going to try to run in this new way, in this veer and shoot way, or are they going to go back to more traditional? If they go back to more traditional, I think I feel a little bit more confident. But if they keep going about that, that sort of this new way, I think it still might take a couple weeks for offensive line to kick into gear. Second, buy or sell. As a team, the Buffalo Bills rush for over 200 yards. Dave, we'll start with you this time.
Damn, 200 yards on the ground. That's a lot. Did the Patriots have over 200 last week against the Dolphins? I'll have to bring that up really quick. I will say this without seeing it. If the Pats did it, then I'll buy. If they didn't, I'll sell.
All right, Mitch, you give your take while I look up. I feel like Tony Reality. I'm the host of this show, and I'm Stat Boy.
200's a ton. That's the thing. If it was 150, I would definitely buy 200. I'm on the fence.
They had 217. The Pats had 217. Okay. I guess I'm buying. Oh no.
I think I think I'm going to sell, but I think they'll be close. I think they'll be pushing it. But 200 is
200's
a lot to ask. Especially, I think Brian Dable does want to ultimately throw the football with these receivers that we have. So I'm going to sell, but I think they'll be, north of 150 though.
Yeah, Bandito, he's buying hard.
Oh,
Paul Miller's buying. John Marlowe he agrees with 150. I'm going to agree with you guys. I'm going to say about 180 to 190 would be my prediction. Close, as Mitch said, pushing 200, but not quite. Here's my third buy or sell to you, gentlemen. The Buffalo Bills score more than 30 points today. Mitch, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say sell because I think that this Miami secondary is a huge upgrade over the Jets secondary we saw last week. So I think that's going to be a lot more on the ground, a little bit more of a grinded out kind of a game. So I'm selling.
I'm selling. I think time of possession is not going to be 40-20 like it was last week for the Bills. I think Miami will possess the ball a little bit today on us. I think their running game, although we may slow it down, I think they'll be obviously better than the Jets were. I just don't see how they can't be. The Jets were abysmal. So with time of possession evening out a little bit, and I think, the clock moving, I guess I'll say a little bit more in this game, not as many stoppages with the clock, with both teams trying to run the ball. I would say it's under 30.
My prediction for the game on our Thursday show was 27-13, but I am changing my prediction after seeing the Tremaine Edmonds.
You're a regular Colin Cowherd now, man. Flip-flopping.
No, because I have new information.
Okay.
And that new information has changed my paradigm, and I'm going to make an educated change to my prediction. There's been 3 days of data, 3 days of information flow at that time. But I'm going to go over. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy the Buffalo Bills for 3 points today. And the reason why I say this is because I think this game is going to have to be the offense has to make a statement. Last week, they were getting the rust off. They didn't have a preseason game. I know the Miami defense is better. I understand that. But I think this game is going to be on the offense to win. I think Miami might score more points than we're expecting today because of those 2 injuries to the defense. I think those are 2 crucial injuries. So it's going to be on the offense to keep up. And I think even though it's not going to be pretty, I don't think it's going to be pretty. I believe in Josh Allen as a playmaker. I believe in the talent we have. I think they'll do enough to outscore the Miami Dolphins. So I'm buying 30-plus points for the Buffalo Bills today. All right. My next buy or sell. Over under 20 points for the Miami Dolphins. Mitch, start with you.
I'm taking the under on that one. I think that I more just think the Bills are going to be scoring, a little less than, maybe they'll be around 24 this week, not as much as last week. But I think that this Miami offense showed last week against a strong New England defense that they couldn't really do a ton. I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to come down to what Fitzpatrick, shows up today. If he's hot, they'll for sure get over 20. But if he plays the way that I expect him to do against this Bills defense, which is, nothing too special, I don't see how this Miami offense can realistically score, more than 3 touchdowns on this Bills team. So I'm going to definitely be buying that.
Dave,
all right. I mean, they're going to be under 20 in my opinion. I think that even with our linebacker injuries, 3 touchdowns from Miami is going to be a tall order. The Bills defense is still going to be, very good. And again, I think with fewer possessions, clock moving, it's just like both teams are going to be maybe a little lower than we predict. I predicted in the Thursday show, Bills 24, Dolphins 17, and I'm going to stick with that and say, Dolphins are right around that 17 sort of point mark. Maybe they get a late field goal to push them to the 20, but I'll stick with my original prediction, 24-17, and have the Dolphins under 20 points.
All right. I can tell by the comment section that under is the very popular take here.
You're just an optimist. That's why I like it. That's why I like it.
Well, no, like Paul, where'd he go? Where'd that comment go? It's gone. It disappeared. There it is. I want you guys to hear me finish my statement before you rip into me too much. Garbage time point. I think Paul Miller's on the point. My prediction for the game is going to be 34-24 Bills. So that's why I picked the over, and that's why I'm picking the over again. I think that the Miami Dolphins are going to score some points in garbage time that's going to put them over the 20 mark. I don't think our defense is as good in garbage time without Tremaine Edmonds, without Matt Milano. So I think the Bills are going to win, and I think the Bills are going to win comfortably. But I do think that there will be some garbage points time from Ryan Fitzpatrick. But that brings me to my next buy or sell. Buy or sell. I don't know. I don't know what to coin this. I'm just going to ask you a question, and I want an answer to it, and I want your reason why. So I'm going to use my teacher skills here. I want the why. Answer the question and then give me the why. Okay.
Hated those questions on tests, man.
Every student ever. So, well, the answer is this. Why? Because it is. Why? Just because it is, man. Why do I need to tell you? Well, you need to tell me why today, okay? Ryan Fitzpatrick, does he have more touchdowns or more interceptions this week? What does he throw more of? That's my question to you, and why? We'll start with Dave.
I think he has. Can I say the same amount?
Yeah, that works too, I guess.
I'm going to say the same amount because I think if the Dolphins do score 2 touchdowns, which is kind of what my prediction is, I think 1 will be on the ground or maybe even 2 on the ground. And so I'll say I don't expect the Bills to. I'll say he throws 1 touchdown and 1 interception. So I'm going to say the same.
Mitch, what are you buying here?
I mean, it's like Dave read my mind. I was also thinking about the same. I'm thinking about 1 or 2 touchdowns, 1 or 2 interceptions. I think that this defense should be able to force a few turnovers out of Fitz, at least a pick or 2. But if we're going with this idea with this, garbage time, it's inevitable, that Fitz will probably, get a score or two that way as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with same amount.
Yeah, I'm going with the same amount as well. I'm going 2-2. I'm going with 2-2. He gets
That's
one
good though.
He gets one real touchdown, one garbage time touchdown, and he throws 2 picks. So I'm going 2-2, which leads me to my next question, because everyone knows this Chan Gailey offense. We saw it for a long time in Buffalo. And even though it's a spread offense, they're very much a spread offense that is predicated on the run game. We saw how much Fred Jackson ran in Buffalo. We saw how they utilized C.J. Spiller in Buffalo. So my question to you guys is this. If the Miami Dolphins can run the ball successfully, they could have some success on offense that could really get their passing game going. So over under 150 yards rushing for the Miami Dolphins. And Mitch, we'll start with you.
I'll take the under just because I think that this Bills D-line should be able to just contain this Miami rushing attack. Mm-hmm. But I think Miami should be over 100 just because that has been the weakness of the Sean McDermott defense ever since he's gotten here has been the rush defense. It's never been bad, but it's never been up to snuff, with this pass defense. So 150 is a lot. So I'll take the under, but similar to kind of what we were talking about with the Bills, over under with the rushing yards, I think they'll be pushing 150. I think they could get pretty close.
Yeah, and I think they'll be around 100, 125. They only ran the ball for 87 yards last week, 3.2 a carry against New England on 27 attempts. And I do think that, Howard and Breida and Gaskins, like they can do some work on the ground, but I actually am a little more wary of Breida in the passing game than I am in the rushing game. I think that obviously he's a home run threat, so one big one is all it really takes for him. But I'd be more concerned with the Bills about Breida in the passing game and having the linebackers sort of on coverage in him coming out of the backfield. So from a rushing standpoint, I could see his numbers not being great, but I could see him being involved in the passing game. So I'll say under. I think they're right around 100, maybe 120.
Yeah. I mean, Spin 0481 says, how much does missing Edmonds and Milano affect our run defense? Honestly, I'm not worried so much about the run defense. Like I said, it's up to those big boys in the middle of that defense, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, and Harrison Phillips to get that push. I'm not worried about Tyrell Dodson and A.J. Klein against the run. What I'm worried about is Matt Breida, as you mentioned, out of the backfield, Myles Gaskin out of the backfield. It's a timing offense in Miami. They like to get the ball, throw those screens to their receivers, throw those screens to or dump the ball off to their running backs. So are our linebackers, A.J. Klein and Tyrell Dodson, athletic enough to go sideline to sideline with these running backs and wrap up and tackle and not allow them to pick up first downs, sort of dinking and dunking the ball down the field? And I'm going to go with the over I'm going to go with the under of 150 for rushing today, but I do think they're going to go over the century mark. But that's the key for the Buffalo Bills today. If they can shut down the running game early and force them to throw, I think that's a recipe for success, because I know the linebackers are out, and that's scary, but I really like the way our secondary matches up against these weaker receivers, especially with Dante Parker probably playing at most 60%. All right. This isn't a buy or sell again. I'm going rogue again. But I'm going to ask you, Dave, and I'm going to start with you because I think Mitch started the last one. I don't know. I'm getting lost at this point. I'm a terrible moderator. But I'm going to start with you, Dave, and I'm going to ask you. I want you to forecast Tyler Bass's day for me. How's Tyler Bass do today?
Let's see. I had the Bills winning 24-17, so he's 3 for 3 on extra points, and I'll say he's 1 for 1 on field goals. I think he only gets one attempt at a field goal, and he makes it. I don't think he misses any today.
Mitch, how you feeling about Tyler Bass today?
I'm still a little weary. Just we've seen in the past with some of these drafted rookie kickers how having great success in college doesn't always translate to the NFL. But I think that he had his week 1 jitters. I think he should be a lot more confident today. So I'm not maybe as concerned as I was, in the middle of last week's game. But I'm still a little hesitant. I think he'll make his extra points. But I need to see it before I believe it. If he can knock a deep one in, in between the uprights today, I think I'll feel a little bit better about Bass. So I'm still a little on the fence, but I'll go, 3 for 3 in extra points, and I'll say 1 of 2 or 2 for 2 in field goals, depending on how things shake out.
You got another comment from Paul J. Miller. Bounces back, perfect day. Paul, I really appreciate your comments today. So I really hope Mondays and Thursdays the Bills guys are live at 7:45 every night right here on the YouTube, the Twitter, the Facebook, as the children call it. So feel free to join us, because I don't think I've ever seen you in the chat section. Feel free to join us during the week, Paul. Really enjoy a lot of your comments today. But yeah, it's tough, right? Because I got the fast Twitter fingers, right? I got some fast Twitter fingers, and I say some things I regret on the Twitter oftentimes, and I try to make the more regrettable statements on my personal Twitter account, so it doesn't affect the both of us. I
appreciate that.
So I try to make them from my own personal account, not from the Bills guys account. But I got a little on Sunday. I was like, I miss Stephen Hauschka, and I tweeted from the Bills guys account, and
that's fine.
5 minutes later, 5 minutes later. It's all over CBS. It's all over Twitter. It's like, well, maybe the field goal was good, and Corey Boherquez was laces in. It's like, God damn it! Like, why do I always make stupid rash statements? Like, why do I always got to do this?
Here's your defense. Look, if it was good, he's got to put it between the pipes, right? The fact that it was like questionable, like it was still not a great kick. Let's not forget that, okay? And he almost missed an extra point too.
He missed the extra point the same way he missed that field goal. The extra point was good because, so according to the NFL rules, if it goes above, it's not the crossbar, it's the what do they call those giant ones that go upwards?
Goalposts, I think.
Goalposts. If it goes over the
uprights.
That's what I'm looking for. If it goes over the uprights, it is completely 100% the two referees standing underneath. It's their job. It cannot be reviewed. Which, is it like a win thing? Why can't we make the uprights bigger? Like, I don't understand. But I guess it can't be reviewed at that point. But yeah, so I'm willing to give Tyler Bass the benefit of the doubt, and a lot of kickers struggle. A lot of kickers. Zane Gonzalez, my fantasy kicker, who I thought was going to have a great year this year, missed a couple of kicks.
Yep.
According to most of the experts, because I am, believe it or not, I'm not a kicking expert. According to most of the experts, kickers struggled in week 1 because one of the things that fans probably don't understand is the difference between kicking in practice and kicking in a game, and the lack of preseason really affected kickers this year. So that was one of their takes, was the lack of preseason was really affecting kickers this year. And so I'm willing to give Tyler Bass the benefit of the doubt. I hope he knocks a couple through the uprights. My prediction was 34 to 24, so that means he knocked 2 through the uprights. So looking forward to it. Mitch,
does he miss any?
Does he miss any?
You have to make it 2. Does he miss any?
I think he might miss one today. I
think
2
for 3 for you?
2 for 3. Yeah, Tyler Bass goes 2 for 3, and I don't know. I don't even want to make a prediction on what he misses.
Oh God!
I don't want to get myself in any trouble. But all right, Mitch, talk about because I know you want to head off here at about 10 after. I want you to give your final thoughts on today's game. I want you to tell all the people about your work, and give your final prediction for today's game.
I think ultimately, like I said, it's going to be this run game for this Bills offense today. If they can establish it early, and get that play action going, I think that you can get that Miami defense on their heels. But that's going to be the key for this offense, is running the football. And with Milano and Edmonds out, obviously we've been talking a lot about who can fill that void. But this might be a game where maybe the offense has to do a little bit more of the carrying than what we're used to seeing. Usually this defense kind of carries the offense a little bit, and Milano and Edmonds are such key pieces that there's this defense is going to have to change some things up. They can't do what they usually do. But ultimately, I think that this is on paper just still a better team than Miami, and I think that will ultimately kind of be the key when it's all said and done. So overall prediction for this game, I'm going 24 to 13 Buffalo. It's going to be a little ugly. It's going to look a little bit like the Bills games we saw a little bit last year, but I think that in the end of the day, this Bills team will get it done. And I've been writing on the blog for about a year and a half now, doing the Thursday Thought column. So I appreciate anyone who's been reading that. Follow me on Twitter at Mitchell_Broder. I'd appreciate a follow, and send me your thoughts after these Thursday thoughts. I write them for dialogue. I love to see the discussion, debate, that comes with them. So I appreciate always hearing your comments, what you guys all have to say. So, but yeah, that's really all I got. So Bills 24, Miami 13.
Yeah. So head over to thebuffalofanatics.com. Follow Mitch's work because it's great work. Thursday Thought every Thursday morning. Read his work, and then there are two ways you can hit up Mitch. As he mentioned, you can hit him up on Twitter, Mitch_Broder, or you can comment right there in the blog, in the comment section of the blog. You can also subscribe to the blog's newsletter. So every time an article posts, you'll get that ding in your email. You'll get Mitch's thoughts every, what is it, Thursday? It drops in the afternoon, right?
Yeah, it's Thursday, every Thursday, 1 o'clock.
Awesome. Perfect. Mitch, it's been a pleasure, man. We're going to have to do this again sometime. I know Dave is going to be missing the Thursday show in the pregame next week, so I might need you to help me carry some of the load. I might ask you to help me again.
Hey, just give me a call. I'm always ready.
All right. Thanks, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, appreciate it. Have a nice day, guys.
All right. Now we got to switch.
I got you.
You got me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Look at that. Back to looking professional again. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now closing in on, wow, my math skills, 43 minutes. We are 43 minutes from kickoff. 53 minutes? 53 minutes.
53, yeah.
53 minutes from kickoff. I swear I'm smart. I promise.
You're not a math teacher. It's okay.
53 minutes from kickoff. We are going to roll for another 23 minutes. Up until half an hour or two. We're going to roll up until 12:30 Eastern. It says 9:07 on my computer, so I'm a little confused because I'm on that West Coast time. But I got another question for you because there was a comment in the comment section. I want to get to it. Mm-hmm. And again, feel free to comment, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, super chats get priority. They pop up big and bold. We always show respect to our super chatters. But I can't find the – well, I can't find it, but the question was, do you think Josh Allen throws an interception today? What are your thoughts on Josh Allen going up against that man-to-man defense in Miami?
Does he throw an interception today? Don't come after me, comments section for this, but yeah, I think he throws one. I think he throws one interception. I think this will probably be, one of the better secondaries we face all year. Man-to-man traditionally has been where he has needed to show a little bit more work and development in the past. I do think he will. I do think he's going to, improve. People are already hating me. How dare I? You know what? He's going to throw 35 touchdowns, no interceptions this year. How's that sound? No, I think he might throw one, but I think he makes up for that if he throws for two or rushes for one and throws for another. Like I will say this, he will have more total touchdowns than he will turnovers. So I'll throw that positive spin on it.
Yeah, no, it's going up against the man-to-man defense is tough. Again, you got to throw those receiver opens. You got to throw those 50-50 balls. So there's definitely more of an opportunity. I would think that he probably throws a pick at some point in this game. We got to come in here from checking out. He says, my guess is he's a Dolphins fan.
He's been putting a lot of pro Dolphins comments in there. Yeah.
He says, Chan will exploit your backup linebackers. I don't. Yeah. I don't question that for a second. As someone, both of us have seen Chan Gailey as an offensive coordinator for quite some time, as a play caller for quite some time. There is absolutely no question about it. That is the biggest fear today is Matt Breida out of the backfield, Myles Gaskin out of the backfield, Lynn Bowden playing today, getting the ball. Not so much about Gesicki. Gesicki over the middle I worry about, but Gesicki yards after catch, not so much. It's the Jakeem Grant on those jet sweeps, Lynn Bowden, it is Myles Gaskin, and it is Matt Breida that are going to be the absolute X factors for the Miami Dolphins in this game. If they can dink and dunk the ball down the field, if they can get the ball in those guys' hands and get them some space, and they can challenge A.J. Klein and they can challenge Tyrell Dodson, they can control some possession this game. I have no doubt in my mind they can control possession this game, extend drives, score points. But I do think that there is a limitation to that. I do think that stuff gets limited in the red zone. I really do think once you get up towards the goal line, that stuff gets a little bit limited because the field shrinks and the secondary plays in a little bit. So Jason Sanders could be a very, very active kicker for the Miami Dolphins today. Jason Sanders could be a guy kicking a lot of field goals for the Miami Dolphins today. So it's a bunch of good questions. BFLO Mafia News says Xavier Howard's knee is about to fall off. He played 44% of the snaps last week, and according to Brian Flores, he's going to see an uptick this week. So my expectation is to see Xavier Howard on the boundary about 55 to 60% of the time. See Noah Igbinogene the remainder of the time on the boundaries. When Howard's out on the boundaries, I expect to see Igbinogene in the slot, which is something I think Cole Beasley can exploit. Igbinogene is a taller, despite the fact that he's got some speed, a little bit stiffer of a corner, more upright corner. So I think Cole Beasley can exploit that in the nickel. I think Eric Rowe is going to have a big role in covering Cole Beasley. But let me pull up the depth chart here and let me show you what Miami's working with. It's going to be Jamal Perry getting most of the nickel reps. Jamal Perry getting most of the nickel reps when Igbinogene is on the outside. So you're going to see a lot of movement from this Miami secondary, this Miami defense in total. They substitute less than the Buffalo Bills. And that's another key I want to get to. Let's go back to these depth charts, right? Let's look at this. Byron Jones played 100% of the snaps last week. Igbinogene played 60. Rowe played 87%. Howard played 44. That was due to injuries. But Bobby McCain, 94. Eric Rowe, 87. You head over to their defensive line, which is the big one. Wilkins, 69. Godshow, 71. Agba, 89. Shaq Lawson, 97. Jerome Baker, 98. A lot less rotation than the Buffalo Bills. A lot less rotation than the Buffalo Bills. And then do I even need to say anything? Let's look at this weather. Real feel over 100 degrees, and it's going to be humid and muggy from the fact that it's been raining and thundering all morning. Miami's defense is going to have to sub more than they did last week, and their depth is not as good as the Buffalo Bills.
So maybe Cowherd is eating his words, and it's Miami that struggles.
Cowherd, you know how to play the Heat in Miami, and Buffalo doesn't. It's the National Football League. I'm sure 3/4 of our team, if you did the math, is from the freaking SEC. Like, are you kidding me, Colin Cowherd?
And
he acts like they're born and bred in Buffalo, live in an igloo all year, and only veer off the freaking iceberg to go play a game 8 times a year. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. John Lizzie asked a good question. How important is establishing the ground game early? I mean, that gets back to this whole theme, right? It's like you establish the ground game early and you're possessing the ball if you're the Bills and you're really efficient with the ground game. For a Miami team that doesn't substitute much on defense, you could wear them down in this heat. And it would be funny to see and ironic to see if Miami is the team, on the defensive line that gets worn down. But if you're the Bills, you do have to make sure you're way more efficient running the ball with your backs today than you were last week, because if not, they're going to get off the field, and Josh Allen's going to have to make a lot more contested man-to-man throws than maybe we need him to. So
yeah, and you got to think too. This whole offense today has got to be predicated around the run game, and that's not a shot at Josh Allen. Miami is going to play man-to-man defense. It is going to be Xavier Howard, Noah Igbinogene, and Byron Jones jamming our wide receivers at the line of scrimmage. So in order for Stephon Diggs and John Brown to get past them and create the proper separation, we need a play-action game today. So they need a lot of play action. They need to establish the run. And when they establish the run, they can utilize that play action. And Josh Allen's got to show today whether he can hit that deep ball. And if he does, there's no question the Buffalo Bills win this game running away.
Yeah, and a lot of people are making really good comments about the, Singletary went to FAU. We've got a lot of former Panthers, obviously. So like the whole thing around like being in Buffalo is a lazy take. It's a take of someone who doesn't know anything about this team. And that's why we talk about the national guys all the time, which is why we really appreciate people coming in to tune into us, because, whatever you want to say, it's like, you're not going to get, the national guys ever really putting praise on the Bills. There's a few outliers like the Michael Robinsons and the Adam Shines and the, that type. But again, they're still somewhat glossing over a lot of the, the key facts here. So
let's roll through the roster here. Saran Neal, Jacksonville State. Levi Wallace, Alabama. Trey White, LSU. Mario Addison, Troy. Jerry Hughes, Texas Christian. Daryl Johnson, North Carolina A&T. Trent Murphy, Stanford. It can get hot on the West Coast. Quentin Jefferson, Maryland. It can get pretty muggy in Maryland. Vernon Butler, Louisiana Tech. Ed Oliver, Houston. Harrison Phillips, Stanford. Tyler Bass, Georgia Southern. Tyrell Dodson, Texas A&M. Actually, there's kind of a decent number of East Coast guys here. Reed Ferguson, LSU. But you know what I mean? Like Darrell Williams, Oklahoma. Corey Workes, New Mexico. Like Georgia, Florida Atlantic. Even though Zach Moss went to Utah, he grew up in Miami. I'm sure most of these guys, if I went into all their bios, were born somewhere in the state of Florida or Georgia or Texas. Most of them are. Like it's just an absolutely ridiculous statement. But yeah, it's crazy. Let's we got 15 minutes left, so pretty much our synopsis. The defensive line has to be really good today, folks, to make up for those linebackers. You know, Vernon Butler's back, Harrison Phillips is back. They got to stuff that run, force Miami into a passing game, throwing that ball into our secondary. Our biggest concern with that defense is dumping the ball off to the running backs with our two backup linebackers playing. But Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison play a huge role trying to force pressure on the offensive side of the ball. We need to establish the run game. We need to do it to set up the play action, to control possession, to get those deep shots, to help work against that man-to-man defense. Tyler Bass is going to need to show up today. Corey Bojorquez is going to need to put Miami in some really bad situations. Andre Roberts, give us that short field, make our lives easier. It's definitely a three. What do they even call them? 3-unit game. three phases of
the game. Yeah.
So that's essentially the synopsis, the cliff notes of everything we've been talking today. We think Devontae Parker is going to be nothing more than a decoy because Miami doesn't have the greatest weapons in the world. So let's get into what everyone loves to finish off this show. Let's get into the predictions. Let's do it.
Start hitting us up in the comments with your predictions.
In the comments with your predictions. Dave was going to go first with his predictions because I went first last week. Then we're going to read your predictions. Then I will give my prediction. And then we will close these things out. So, before we start, it says Judge will commit murder if there's another design to be run. Well, here's my thing. I know New England had success. With the run. I know they did with the quarterback jet sweeps and all that stuff. I'm not saying don't implement it, but don't implement it on 2nd and 3 of the red zone. Like let's pick and choose our spots. Second, I think we would have more success running the football today in non-traditional ways, like not a designed run, where Josh Allen has like 1 or 2 targets. He looks for his 1 or 2 hot reads. They're not there. He tucks it and he runs. Spread them out to run it up the middle. Why? Man-to-man defense. He says, and up 21. I can get behind that too. Don't put your quarterback in danger when you're up. Like, be smarter about when you put your quarterback in danger. If the game's still close, it's worth the risk. When it's not, maybe not so much. But that man-to-man defense, those corners, those safeties are going to be turning their backs to run with Stephon Diggs and John Brown and Cole Beasley. They're not going to have their eyes on the quarterback. I understand they're probably going to have Jerome Baker or Kyle Van Noy spying. But that's for Josh Allen to take his runs in a non-traditional way. But all right, Dave, let's get started with your prediction.
Well, let's get to the comments first. Actually, we'll go at the end because we've already got like a ton of people coming in with predictions. So we'll save ours for the end and we'll get to the comments first.
I'll click you, Reed, because my voice is
all right. So Ryan Brewer, great logo, by the way. I love that avatar. 28-17 Bills. It's very similar. 28-13. Very 33-17. So here's Buffalo Mafia News going with the over 30 points. Dragon Wolf, another over 30 points, 31-17 Bills. The Heat won't be a determining factor, but it will be a variable. But that's for both teams, right? I mean, yes, Miami's practicing down there. That's fine, but it could be a factor for both teams. Maybe the offsetting substitution for Miami not having as much of a rotation evens that out a little bit. Andrew Miller, regular Vars, 24-13 Bills. I believe that's what Mitch had predicted. So that's good right there. Nate Productions, 2014, a tight one, right on the number there of the 6-point spread. So 20-14 Bills, a low-scoring one there. Nate Wilson, thanks for subscribing on YouTube. Nate, 31-17 Bills. That seems to be a popular sort of point differential. Juxie, 36-10, assuming Bills. for that one, just based on the audience here. So James coming out. James always goes bold. James went bold last week too. I think James had like Bills scoring 40.
He would have been right if Josh Allen never fumbled.
42-9. Bills walk away with this one. Man, that would be nice.
Oh, sorry.
Checking out the Miami fan and you know what? Look, I like that he's supporting his team, and I like that he's confident. 24-17 Miami win. Could happen. Bills 24, Fish 16 from Worldwide Rail Fan. That 10 to 15 point range is common. Another 31-17 here from Generation Kill. Lone Wolf, another regular of ours, 24-16 Bills. James Williams, 31-13 Bills with a win there. G-Rock, another tight prediction here, 23-17. That's the second one we've seen that's right on the number of 6. So I like that. That's a solid prediction. Our guy Steven. Oh, a new avatar for Steven, and I really like that. 28-10 Bills. That avatar has really got me going. Nice one. Carl, Bills 31, Dolphins 21. So giving the Dolphins a few more points than we've seen. Paul, great point. I just want to win, period. With you there. Paul Miller, great on the comments today. 28-24, not a comfortable fourth quarter. That could come to fruition here. You guys are pretty arrogant. You just chit chat like you're being objective. 24-20 Miami. We're trying to be objective with the weaknesses of the Bills here today. I mean,
we have given your DBs a ton of credit. We have talked about where Chiangeli is strong in picking apart your defense. But if you think Miami's offensive line is better than Buffalo's offensive line, who are you kidding? If you think Miami's quarterback is better than Buffalo's quarterback, who are you thinking? Who are you kidding? If you think Miami's running backs are better than Buffalo's running backs, who are you kidding? If you think Miami's wide receivers are better than Buffalo's wide receivers, who are you kidding? If you think Miami's defensive line is better than Buffalo, who are you kidding? The secondary, I wouldn't. If you were to say Miami's secondary is better, okay, I'm not gonna disagree with you. Special teams, probably wash. Your special teams ain't that great either. So it's like Zoe Vegas 75. I don't think we're being arrogant. We're a better football team. If you beat us today, kudos to you. Congratulations to you. But guess what? You were the underdog and you overachieved if you beat us. If you beat us today, you overachieved. I don't know what you want me to say. We're a better football team. Period.
I mean, Miami's a 6-point home underdog. So
yeah,
in Vegas terms, that's more like a 9 points because they usually bake in 3 for the home team,
like
2.5 to 3. So
we're Bills fans. If we were hosting this show 3 years ago, we wouldn't be making these comments. Our team was in the same spot your team is, on the rebuild, promising head coach, promising general manager, promising young roster. We were in the same spot 3 years ago that you were, and we weren't making these predictions 3 years ago. 3 years from now, maybe you're going to be hosting a show like this, or maybe you'll be on this show commenting in the comment section, and there will be more objective takes. But we're just a better football team than you, dude. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. We're a better football team than you. Anyone outside of Miami would agree with that statement. Anyone. All right. Sorry about that. Mike Trotter.
24-16 Bills from Mike. And Cody saying, get him, Judge. Look, we're not, like you said, we're not trying to, we are trying to be objective, right? Objectively, we're a 6-point road favorite, and the Bills should win this game, right? I mean, that's all, someone made a comment, I think checking out, said he would say that Miami's receivers are better than the Bills receivers. And I don't think any of the receivers are better than Stephon Diggs. You could maybe make the case that Devontae Parker is on the same level as a John Brown or even better. I'm willing to listen. But they're banged up too. So, and you got to take that into context, right? They're not 100%. So
Jeffrey, my man, thank you. We appreciate it. Go Bills.
So Jeffrey, James Kehoe has 27-17 Bills.
I lost my place.
It's okay. It's right after Jeffrey's. Todd Barker says, Judge, do you think we're better than Miami?
I do think we're better than Miami.
I think he does. I think that was a little bit of a facetious comment there but I think it's funny. Judge getting mad. I love it.
I mean, come on. You can't say the Miami Dolphins are better than the Buffalo Bills. It's just not true.
Wow, this is a hot take right here. 2 touchdowns at 220. I'm not going to go that far.
But here's the thing, back to Jeffrey Green's point, the Bills' offense today, as we were saying, more yards after catch, less of that dink and dunk that we saw last week. I think they're going to do a lot off the play action. So it's on Stephon Diggs and John Brown to do their jobs as, upper echelon NFL wide receivers, create that separation, and it's up to Josh Allen to hit them in stride on those deep balls. He can't throw those balls like he threw to Cole Beasley last week. What did someone say? Like someone made a great analogy last week, and I apologize because I'm not giving them credit. Someone made a great analogy. That the throw to Cole Beasley, that if he would have hit him in stride, it would have been a touchdown. It was like hitting a par in golf, right? It was like hitting a par in golf.
It was like being mad about a par, I think.
It was like being mad about a par.
Yeah.
Great completion. The game was essentially wrapped up at that point. But if he would have hit him in stride, it would have been a touchdown. It would have been an eagle. It would have been a birdie. So like people are getting upset over a par, but you do expect better from professionals. So, yeah, I apologize to all of the predictions that we're not going to get to. We're going to roll into our predictions, and if we didn't read your prediction, you could post it in the comments again. Dave will go, then we'll read some more comments, and then I will give my prediction. So, Dave, what's your prediction today?
Yeah, so my prediction is that this game is going to be a clock-moving game. I think both teams are going to be able to run the ball a little bit. I do think that, it will mean fewer possessions for each team. I don't think the Bills are necessarily going to come out and have 3 straight 3-and-outs on Miami, offense like we did to the Jets offense last week. So I do think there will be more longer drives from each team, especially with both teams trying to run the ball today. So I do think at the end of the day, the Bills are, the more talented team, the better team. They are the 6-point road favorite. I expect Moss and Singletary to do much better today than they did last week. But I do think that given the fewer possessions and given the potential weakness we have with the linebackers getting exploited in space, especially in the passing game out of the backfield for Miami, and what Fitzpatrick has the potential to do against zone defense, that this game will be a little bit closer than maybe people want, but I still have the Bills winning. I'm sticking with my prediction from earlier Thursday's show. So I have the Bills 24, Miami 17.
All right. Let's read some of the – I like a couple of the comments here before I get to the predictions here. BFLO Mafia News says, will Bills fans be there? 13K in attendance, so it'll be really interesting to see how many of them are Bills Mafia. Checking out says, Diggs will be only receiver that will have separation. All others will be covered tight. I just don't – John Brown is really good at getting open down the field, especially in play action. And now the attention of the safety, the attention of Eric Rowe, the attention of Brian McCann is going to be on Stephon Diggs. So, but that brings me back to my point of Stephon Diggs. And this is one point that we never got to talk about, and I just remembered it. So we might have to go a little extra because I want to get your take on this. Stephon Diggs was targeted a lot last week. He had 8 catches. I don't know how many targets. I think it was 9 targets, 10 targets. He was targeted a lot last week. He's being covered by Byron Jones, one of the better cornerbacks in the National Football League this week. What kind of targets do we see for Stephon Diggs? Does he show he's the alpha and still get a ton of targets this week?
Yeah, he had 9 targets, 8 catches. I think so, right? I mean, This is what you brought him in for. You brought him in to make those types of tough catches, those critical third down catches. If you're the Bills and you're Josh Allen, you're confident in Stephon Diggs, and the reason you brought him in was not to shy away, then he probably still gets his targets. With having said that, I think all of the targets go down slightly for everybody today. So like instead of 9, 10, 7, like you had last week for Diggs, Brown, Beasley, I could see it being more like, 7 or 8, 5 or 6, 5 or 6, 6, 7, something maybe in those ranges. Because again, I would be surprised if the Bills throw the ball 46 times again today. I expect it to be more around 30, 35. But Diggs should be in that 7 to 10 target range again today. I would not be surprised by that. And I think they have to go to him on those key, in those key situations. He's the guy.
Yeah, I think on a week-to-week basis, anything less than 6 targets is absolutely unacceptable. Chris Janke, who is a player on Miami's offense and defense that you are afraid of going into this game? I like that one.
Matt Breida. Matt Breida is the guy for me that I'm afraid of on offense.
I'm going to cop out, and I'm going to give you 4 names because it's all 4 guys who could be doing the same thing. Jakeem Grant, Matt Breida, Myles Gaskin, and Lynn Bowden. Like, as receivers out of the backfield with these linebackers in that short to intermediate yards after the catch, those are the guys that scare the heck out of me. On defense, I'm going to go with I think you're going to go with Kyle Van Noy. So I'm going to say Byron Jones and Eric Rowe in the secondary. Byron Jones as the sort of number one alpha corner, and Eric Rowe is sort of a hybrid, getting to move all around that secondary, be a chess piece in that secondary. Those are the two players on defense that I fear.
Yeah, Van Noy's a chess piece, obviously, for Florida, as he came from that New England system and is now with Florida's second game for him. Injury, I mean, he's playing, so he's clearly not going to be too affected by that injury, I don't think. But Van Noy's going to be critical for Miami's defense. I wouldn't say I'm scared of him, but he's like a heady player and a smart player, so he'll be in the mix to make some plays today.
Yeah, Chris was saying I was thinking the same thing along with Gesicki. I'm not too worried about Gesicki because I think the Bills are going to have a game plan for him. I think it's going to involve a heavy dose of Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Jeffrey Green coming in with the super chat. We appreciate it, Jeffrey. I think the running game should get going today. Man, I hope. Yeah. We've been talking about it all show. The running game sets up the play action today, and that's what you need against that man-to-man defense. We get a really hot take here from James Kehoe. Hot take, Allen throws for 350 yards and a touchdown.
Ooh.
We got John Marlowe saying, we know Shaq Lawson's strengths and weaknesses. He played 97% of the snaps last week, too. And it's not like this defense is new. Sean McDermott faces this defense twice a year in New England. So he knows this defense, and he knows Kyle Van Noy, and he knows some of these players from their time in New England. So how do you feel about our two starting linebackers being out? We've mentioned this a number of times. We think it's going to be okay if the defensive tackles step up in the run game. We don't think these guys will have any issues in the run game. Our fear is running backs out of the backfield, exposing these guys and running some decent routes and getting some decent yards after the catch. All right, time for my prediction, and then we're going to say our thank yous and head out. Buffalo 33, Miami 24. It's not as close as the score, just like it was last week. Miami rolls down and scores a last-second touchdown. That means the Buffalo Bills get 3 touchdowns and then get a whole bunch of red zone opportunities because I have Tyler Bass making 4 field goals today. 33 to 24. Again, a last-second Miami, a last-minute or 2-minute Miami drive to make the game closer than it appears. It's going to be 33-17. And then Miami scores and gets that garbage time touchdown. So 33-17, 33-24, whatever you want to count it as, it's fine. But I have Tyler Bass having a big day. The Bills offense, Andre Roberts getting into Miami territory a lot. I don't think they're going to be able to punch it in every time, but I think they at least get that 3 touchdown mark this week. I think 2 to 3 I don't know. Are we at the point where we need to expect 3 touchdowns from this offense every week?
Yeah.
Or is that,
yeah.
We are?
Yeah. I mean, we scored 19 points a game last year. We figured we need to improve on that by like about 5 or 6 points, getting us in that 24 to 25 point a game range. And that's most weeks, that's 3 touchdowns and a field goal. It's not going to really, 2 touchdowns and 3 to 4 field goals is not, that's not as common. You need 3 touchdowns. That's the baseline now for this team.
All right. And Jeffrey Green coming in with another stupid chat. 38-17 Bills. I like it. Bills running away with it. I really hope that we're all wrong. Right.
Well, you predicted the Bills total points correctly last week at 27. So if you're saying 33 this week, then I like it. Like if you go 2 for 2 on picking their point total, I'll take 33 points.
Yeah. I really hope the Buffalo Bills offense just comes out and shuts him up. He says, what's the longest? I'll go 53 yards. 53 yards.
Wow, okay. First career 50 yards.
So, yeah, it should be really interesting. Thank you guys so much. We're up to almost 250 on Facebook. We've been pushing 200 on YouTube. Lord knows how many on Twitter and Sportscaster. So completely incredible reaction that you guys have had to I woke up this morning to 150 of you, and then Casey and Knapp we're talking to about 200 of you, and now we're pushing 600 combined on all of our different platforms. So, ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate it. We will be back. Rico will be here post game. And he will.
Hey, look at that. Checking out's giving us some credit. We appreciate that, and it's all fun, right? We like what we're doing, and we like hearing from the fans of the other teams. So
yeah, Chris Jaggy says, "Are you guys afraid the Buffalo Bills players will melt in the heat?" Hey, you need to rewind the show about a half an hour and watch me yelling and screaming at Gallagher. But all right, so you can catch us Monday. Rico is again after our show. He'll be alive about 15 minutes post game for the instant reaction. Joe Miller Wired with his great podcast every Monday morning. We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be back Thursday night, 7:45, leading into to Monday and Thursday Night Football.
Unfortunately, I won't be there on Thursday.
You will not be there on Thursday. Well, I'll need to find someone who can control me. Tuesday, The Hoof. Wednesday, Hump Day Hotline. Friday is Rico. Saturday is Bills Overdue. Check out the Buffalo Fanatics Podcasting Network. Check out Mitch and all the great work at thebuffalofanatics.com. We are literally everywhere. Stephen Campione, we appreciate it. He says, thanks, Stephen Judge. We appreciate great show. Go Bills. We appreciate you, Stephen. And again, once again, you guys make this show and make all our shows what it is. Like, how awesome is it that we can sit here on a Sunday morning before a Bills game and talk with 300 of you and literally have you guys as the third co-host of the show? It's absolutely incredible. I need to go pour myself another drink.
Yes, you do.
I need to go set my fantasy lineup, make sure none of my players are injured. I came to the sad realization this week that I am not a very good dynasty drafter.
Oh, yeah, we're playing each other this week in Dynasty.
You're already
Yeah.
Dude, so in my defense, I've never played a dynasty league before in my life. Like,
neither I.
It wasn't really it never really had any interest in it. I got invited to 2 leagues this year, the Buffalo Fanatics League and
it's
another
fun. I like it. So far.
And I made the mistake of I just drafted like all rookies and second-year players.
I have 10 rookies. I have 10 rookies on my team out of 25 guys.
Starting like Adrian Peterson and like Chris Thompson.
I'm starting a quarterback who's not even playing. That's how deep into the future I went.
I'm starting Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh my God! Go get yourself a drink, man. Go get yourself a
all
drink.
Right. Well, in my other 2 leagues where it's not dynasty, I'm kicking butt. But in my dynasty leagues, not pretty. So, all right, go Bills. I'll probably be on the Buffalo Fanatics Periscope, Twitter, halftime, giving my halftime reactions like I did last week. We appreciate it, guys. Go Bills. Squish them fish.
Go Bills. Squish the fish.